that's a step in the right direction.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We're back for our 47th episode. Oh, wait. Sorry, I hear something really weird going on. Here, one second. I'll deal with that later. We're on our 47th episode. I heard something really weird in the background for a second. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I don't know what's going on. I think it's one of my neighbors. But yes, we're out here. I thought it was echoing hard. We're out here talking about Forbidden Planet. We're going far back in time, back to 1956. And I think this is the oldest movie we've covered here. Is that correct? Or Night of the Living Dead's older, isn't it?
What about White Christmas? Was that?
I don't know. This seems way older than that. I think Night of the Living Dead was in black and white for aesthetic reasons, wasn't it?
Night of the Living Dead was the 60s. Here, let me check White Christmas while you keep talking.
I think White Christmas was early 50s.
White Christmas 50s. Was 1954, or so 2 years before.
Okay, nice. Well, it's pretty cool. You know what? For this being as old as it is, it definitely stands out. This is one of those, of course, those retro futuristic sci-fi classics. And, you know, this was a lot of our first times watching this, right? Has anybody seen this before?
I had seen it before a couple of times.
Gen X Man has. World War Joe, you?
No, this is my first time, actually.
Oh, it's your first time too. Okay, cool. Sweet. Well, yeah, so we have a lot of fresh perspectives here. You know, there's only two of us Gen Z involved today. We're joined by, Gen X Man, Ian Morrison, and World War Joe, seasoned cinema lovers. And I think it's pretty cool that, you know, this is a first step in the direction of this movie, because I don't think there's any denying that we've seen this image, of course, you know, the classic poster of Forbidden Planet. I mean, how many times have you guys seen this before, you know, wondering what we were getting into? Because I've seen this image a million times, and I've just wondered for years upon years what exactly this movie was.
I've seen it, I guess, before, though. The robot, I wonder if this was the inspiration for the robot in Lost in Space and the Protectrons in the Fallout series. It's a very, very unique style to it. I think a lot of people have copied it.
Wait, real quick, let me show you. I pulled it out. There's a Protectron.
Yep.
I mean, come on, that's literally the same thing.
It looks like it,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Just more lethal.
Mm-hmm.
Not as friendly.
And it can make anything.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those iconic looks. And, you know, like looking at this poster, you see it and you're thinking, like, of course he's going to be the big bad villain too, right? I mean, there's nothing about this poster that suggests that this is going to be a helpful friend that is useful to save more than anything else in the movie either.
Absolutely. I would say I'm more shocked that Leslie Nielsen was in this and it wasn't a comedy.
Right. Yes,
Jedi said maybe before we start.
Yeah, that's a good shoe-in for me.
Yeah, why don't, because you had some interesting input about that.
Yeah, I dug it. I was of the same mind. Like Leslie Nielsen, isn't he like best known for Airplane and Naked Gun and you know, those sorts of movies, a comedic mastermind? Well, yes, but before Airplane came out, he was largely just a serious movie actor, leading man in various movies and TV shows, and played straight. And having seen him in this movie, obviously he had a different side to him, but he's hit it out of the park with his comedic side, and I think that's what most people remember him for.
Correct.
I was gonna say I didn't even realize until I saw Brawler's poster of it saying Leslie Nielsen. I'm like, what? That's him?
You didn't know that was him this whole time? That's crazy.
I mean, now that I'm looking at his face, like, yeah, now I see it, but at first I didn't notice it.
I didn't know until the movie ended. They said something about Leslie Nielsen, Leslie Nielsen. I'm like, no way. So I looked at pictures. I'm like, okay, I see it.
He was like
50
years old back then.
I was looking at his IMDb record, and he was active in Hollywood for about 60 years.
Wow.
And the first half, he was, he played it straight. And Forbidden Planet was the highest rated movie that he had been in. And then when Airplane came out, that got an even higher rating. and obviously represented a turning point for him. So the first 30 years he was the serious man, and the second 30 years he was the nutty guy.
That's
Yeah, I
crazy.
mean,
Live
I'd
both
s-
lives.
sorry. Yeah, I'd
But-
seen the poster a couple of times, a few years back. I didn't really know what it was about, and I had no idea that Leslie Nielsen was in this film until, like you guys a couple of years ago. I'd just been so used to seeing, clips of him from Airplane, Naked Gun. I also remember as a kid he played Mr. Magoo in the live action film, and also I remember seeing this movie, An American Carol, which is like a kind of a parody of the Christmas Carol, but told from a July 4th perspective, and it was making fun of like documentary filmmakers like Michael Moore and such. You had like a lot of conservative actors on that show making a lot of pro-conservative messaging in that film. I think that was his last film that he did before he passed away, or one of the last few.
Okay.
I know.
Sorry, what was that called again?
An American Carol.
I'm looking that up.
World War
Yeah.
Joe knows what he's watching now.
I know, right? You
You
me
checked all the boxes.
The Christmas Carol with the 4th of July in America.
It doesn't
Man.
get any better
Yeah.
than that.
Mainly what he does is he's narrating the story to a couple of kids at a 4th of July picnic that they're having.
Oh,
wow.
Okay. It's kind of weird, like Leslie Nielsen. If you hadn't seen him in like Naked Gun or known about those movies or Airplane, you probably wouldn't be too familiar. I mean, like for our generation, that's the only title I could possibly attach to him that I think has kind of remained somewhat relevant. Thanks to the newer one, I think it's gotten people interested in going back to look at the older films, but that's not ever been something I've been particularly that interested in watching, even though like I've seen some pretty funny clips. But I don't know. I think he's one of those actors that, he has an interesting career, right? He's an interesting career. And, like you said, Gen X, man, there's not too many actors where you could like divide their tenure like his tenure, right? I mean, starting off super serious for the first half and then going completely ridiculous the second half for such a long time too. I mean, it's kind of hard to even picture him in a serious role. I'd kind of like to see some more of his serious roles. But here we are all the way back in 1956. I mean, this is really old, people. This is really old. And I think something, Gen X Man, you kind of revealed earlier when you had watched the movie, because we were talking about it a little bit before, was that each time you see this, it just looks older to you. And
It really does. It's losing its shine the more years go by.
Yeah,
For sure.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
I disagree on that. I look at it and I kind of wished we can go back to that more with more practical set. Like you said, White Christmas was the oldest thing we've done on this so far, though, and that looked beautiful. And the sets here, this one, they're old, but I'd kind of rather that than just a CGI mess.
Yeah, I also have to agree with you, Joe. It's like there is a certain charm to it. The practical effects, the backdrop paintings, matte paintings, and everything, even like some of the really hokey CGI effects, which is more animation than CGI, obviously. Yeah, a lot of it is dated. You can't deny that. But there are some parts of it, especially like that one shot where you're looking down that shaft that goes down into the planet, and you see how massive it is. I mean, that is one of the best illusions I've ever seen in an older film that predates CGI. And I think that shot really holds up very well. The rest of it, yeah, obviously it's matte paintings where, for those of you who don't know, it's where they would use glass, paint environment around it, and then they'd leave an opening in the glass for the camera to, for the actors to move through. That's how they would set it up from a far off angle. So that way it looked like you were inside of a huge underground station created by aliens. And sometimes you could tell some of it looks a little bit cheesier than others, but other times it looks.
Here's a great example of that, Ian. Come on. Like, it's definitely I'm like, this is kind of an example of the cheesiness a little bit, like it's obviously a painting. I know we're working with what we got, but I don't know. It was kind of hard. It was hard for me to see past some of this, but I get the vision, of course.
I just think back then it must have been an amazing thing to see that on the screen for the first time. Like, how did they possibly do that as a movie, as someone going to the movies in the 1950s? Like, you probably never expected you see something like that ever.
True.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is, I mean, I consider this sort of the ultimate retro futuristic movie because, you know, it's obviously very dated, but it's how people thought the future would look like or how advanced technology would look, and so, you know, it has its place in film history. But I like retrofuturism. I like even going farther back in time and seeing how they thought, say, the year 2000 would be, you know, in the world today. And of course, it's usually way off, but it's still kind of interesting.
I don't know. We're 2 years away from Terminator date, so
we're getting close.
We're close. 2 years away from T-1000's taking over.
We could be there possibly.
I think you're right, Joe. I think you're right.
I've seen those AI robots with those giant booty cheeks, man. We ain't gonna stand a chance.
What are you looking into, bro? I ain't seen none of that. That's a you thing.
But you know, Terminator is obviously a more modern movie, and so its look ahead is more realistic.
Oh, definitely. Well, let me just
movies like this. Sorry, box office problem,
cool.
but like movies like this, the retrofuturism was more art than technology or like technical advancements. It was more about the beauty of what the future could be, the wonder. And that's why when you look back at a lot of films like these, or even like the opening of Tomorrowland at Disneyland, you know, and Epcot, early designs of Epcot that Walt Disney's Imagineers had, they were wanting to make that art of the future that they had at that time as much of a reality as possible. Because what if things did actually turn out like that? I mean, it would be so much better, I think, in some cases than what you got now, just from the architectural standpoint.
I'm surprised how simple the ship looked. I mean, it just looked like a really standard UFO.
Yes.
I think I was kind of like, you know, that was a small note that I appreciated about this was it's like, okay, you know, everyone knows what a UFO looks like, and here's some sort of explanation for UFOs in the universe, right? It's us, like it's, you know, it's humans that have crafted these things to travel across space and time. So I was like, okay, I respect that we're in a UFO for this film, but you know, you're not wrong. It was really flat, but. Yes. It worked well enough. You know, something funny when we were watching this movie was, you know, sometimes the perspectives are off a bit, and you know, you get a shot of the UFO landing on Altair IV, is that right? Yeah. And it, like, you know, the ship, it looked really small, like a toy. And then you have the stairs, and they pop out from the sides, and you see people walking down. And it's like, okay, wait, so it is massive. And then you get a shot of the people walking down the stairs, you know, from eye level on the ground. And oh wow, the ship is actually enormous. So sometimes it doesn't work all that well, but you know, it doesn't. That doesn't matter too much. But,
well, and the appearance of the ship, I was looking to see if I could see a string. And I couldn't see a string holding up the ship, but you could see the ship rocking as though it were being hung by a string.
There was a string.
Hey, what is it? The fishing line.
Yeah.
I kind of thought it looked more like it was on some built-in platform and it was being lowered down. I didn't notice anything. I didn't notice it shaking or anything like that.
Sure. Well, you know, all these little things don't matter anyway. Sometimes I feel like we just see things if we look too hard too, right? But let me just explain the movie. Just a brief little synopsis for people that don't know what the Forbidden Planet is, because I'd be curious to know if anyone watching hasn't seen the movie and they're just curious about what the story is. So at this point in time, we are in the 23rd century. So in the future, a decent amount here. And we follow a starship crew who lands on the mysterious planet of Altair IV. And they're sent there to uncover the fate of a lost expedition. and they find something strange there. There aren't any survivors from this expedition. There are only two, one brilliant scientist and his beautiful daughter. And along with them is also a non-living life form, which is a wisecracking robot who is obviously, the cover of this infamous poster here. And, this world that they live on, it's desolate, it's dangerous. The crew, they are warned not to land because of how dangerous it is. And many other visitors have suffered a horrible fate from landing on this mysterious planet. And it's a nightmare. But when they land, it's beautiful. It's a paradise. And the doctor here, Dr. Morbius, he has kind of unlocked unlimited potential. And you kind of wonder watching this movie what his intentions are, if he's a villain, if he is harnessing all of this power for himself, because there is a great power that lies beneath the grounds of this desolate planet. So the crew is kind of wondering what they're supposed to do. We follow a very strange tale. It's very fantastical. It's deep. It's a deep movie. It tackles a lot of like theories and philosophy, psychology, Freudian psychology. And it covers just so many kind of complex thoughts and ideas that you wouldn't expect out of a a sci-fi film like this, especially so early on. And it almost looks like, looking at the poster here, that it's some, horrifying creature feature, but it's not that at all. It's so much deeper. So that's pretty much, the story itself. I was kind of wondering what your guys' thoughts are, since we're all catching it, for the first time. What was your guys' expectations going in to see this? What did you think we were going to watch?
I thought from the first Dr. Morbius saying, hey, don't land, I thought we were going to get like The Thing or something like that, where just crewman after crewman is just going to get picked off by some kind of monster.
Yeah.
I was... Oh, so you go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I kind of figured the same thing, that it was going to be like classic monster movie where the characters getting picked off one at a time. Some kind of threat is on this planet, and they get lured in. Obviously, you're going to have the girl, with Anne Francis, so there's going to be a little bit of romance here and there. Because of course it's a sci-fi film. Who went to sci-fi movies the most, especially back then in the 50s? Young teenage boys. So you wanted to have like some, an attractive girl in this movie. But also it was going to probably delve into some, like technological spews, which they do, obviously, which takes up a good chunk of the movie, unfortunately, in my opinion. But then of course it was going to have a lot of flashy sci-fi moments and the usual cheesy visual effects from that time. But it came across a little bit more sophisticated than I thought it was going to be, even with all the hokey parts of it as well.
It sounds like we all have pretty much the same idea here. That's interesting. I mean, how could you not think of it that way, just looking at the poster? And it is really such a surprise that the robot is not the villain. It's like there's so many iconic images of Robby here as this horrifying monster, and I kind of wish that was the case. I wanted to see that. And definitely not painted that way. I was really convinced, going into this, that especially like just early on watching the movie, I think we were led to believe a lot of this too, was that Morbius, he was actually like a sinister character, that he killed the entire party of settlers that were there. And I thought that maybe he wore an invisible suit to veil his attempts to keep the planet to himself. I really thought that's what was going to happen, but no, we weren't even close to that. I thought it was kind of surprising that, his character didn't end up being all that malicious after all, except what was revealed in his subconscious. But, a lot of us can't really, I guess that's the question. Can you control your subconscious? I don't know if you exactly control it. I think it's sort of like your deepest, darkest, like honest feelings that aren't, bent by relationships or your will exactly. It's sort of like instinct almost. And that's what of course, the main antagonist is driven by instinct and, you know, the power of Morbius's subconscious. But we'll get to that point later. Just beginning here, because, you know, as you guys know, we break the movie down into different chapters. I have 5 or 6 different chapters here. So just starting off in the very beginning, you know, we follow, I think it's kind of interesting, you know, the expedition of these spacemen led by Leslie Nielsen's character. You know, they're not the United States of America. They are the United Planets. I think that's so funny. And so, yeah, obviously this is a big expedition force that is sent out here on the cruiser C-57D, and it's commanded by John J. Adams. That's Leslie Nielsen's character. And as they approach Altair IV to investigate, you know, this long lost expedition, they receive a very cryptic warning from the sole survivor, Dr. Morbius, who really tells them, don't come on here, you're going to regret it. And we have kind of a very interesting dialogue between the two, you know, the entering force and the surviving planet member. And it's clear that Dr. Morbius does not want them here. And there's sort of like, I wouldn't call it like a shakiness in the voice, but there's this like almost desperate attempt to keep them away that longs you to discover what is going on down here and what is the problem with this guy. And one of those crew members allude to that in this during the short dialogue. So they eventually they land onto the planet. All things seem hunky-dory here, no issues at first glance, and they are greeted by Robby the Robot, and he's definitely, just right off the bat, he just seems way too good to be true. He's all resourceful, all powerful, and he doesn't seem to have any malicious intent, which doesn't really make sense. And, you know, because you're led to believe, looking at this poster, that there's something wrong with him. And the robot, he leads the crew to Dr. Morbius's very advanced home. He's living in luxury. He has all of these resources, which is crazy because he's alone on this desolate planet. There's nobody else there except his daughter. And then when she comes into the picture, of course, her name's Altair, the men are quickly thirsting over her. You got this ship of guys. They've been flying for a year straight. They haven't seen a lady. And then a pretty girl comes into the picture. And for the first, 30 minutes of the movie, they have a bit of a field day trying to figure out, you know, who gets to be with her. And, you know, quite a few of them try to make their move, and it doesn't exactly work. But, you know, before we get into like the theatrics of, you know, entering this very interesting planet, we spend a decent amount of time on the spaceship. So I was kind of wondering what you guys thought. Did you guys think that this spaceship sequence was convincing to you?
Yeah, I liked it. There was really no cliche character. They were all, you know, kind of hanging out, just drifting off into space. So yeah, I thought it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it definitely gives off like submarine kind of vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
From the design. Also, from what I've learned since I watched the film, I started looking at some like trivia about it. The way how they went into the design for this ship, they said how they didn't want to design it in a way like they were trying to predict how spaceships in the future would look based on what they already had. They just wanted to be like, who cares about the physics or the architecture? Just make it look really interesting. Just forget about the physics and the math and all that. Just make it look cool. Make it look as beautiful as possible. And I think they did that. You know, for an early 1950s science fiction set piece like that, they actually did a really good job with it.
One of the things that I like taking note of in these kinds of movies is how they represent displays and controls. And, you know, obviously this was before the advent of computers and digital displays and things like that. So they kind of result to that 3D model of the ship and how it's positioned in space with some globe-based sort of navigational thing surrounding the ship. And I just think that's very interesting. It tells you like, where were we at that point in our technology development, the way that people took control of things and maintained awareness of how the thing was doing, how the ship was doing.
I think I liked, you know, obviously there is something that made it kind of like realistic to me was the hierarchy of power, right? You had Leslie Nielsen's character. He was obviously, the top dog, but then he had a guy under him, and there was a guy under him, and they all had different roles. And, there wasn't like, as we see in, present day examples of, like Star Trek, what they do when there's some, impending doom, or if the chain of command tells somebody news they don't like, the recruits, they freak out, they yell, the commander yells and he screams and he freaks out every time. We don't have those kind of theatrics in this, and that's respectable, because obviously if you're in a position of power and leadership, you're not going to be flailing about and panicking and acting a fool like a lot of these present examples in Star Trek and other recent leadership examples in modern cinema, right? So I liked that about this. I think I was a little disappointed that, I feel like old sci-fi, everything's just so clean. And to me, this ship was so clean and orderly that it just didn't look lived in. I mean, these guys have been in the ship for a year, right? I can't imagine how gross this would be, having 20 guys in this smaller ship. I mean, it's a big ship, but to hold all these guys for a whole year, you know what I mean? And they haven't left. I mean, I bet there'd be crap on the walls. I don't want to know what's going on in that ship.
They did seem a lot more. They did seem very sane and non-bothered for 385 days. He said. Yeah. Who knows? Wait, maybe when they went into those portals, that was kind of putting them to sleep. That's what I kind of got out of it. I'm not sure if that's the case.
Yeah, no, I think it was supposed to be like when they go into light speed. It's like it is kind of like hibernation, and. Yeah, obviously it's an early version of what would happen on classic Star Trek, the beaming platform and everything like that. But yeah, I kind of thought that might be what it is too, but I could be wrong, So
it wasn't really clear. It seemed like they had to go into some sort of weird state as they transited from light speed to sublight speed. There was something about that transition that they needed to be disintegrated or something and then reintegrated in their biological form. I don't know. It wasn't very clear what was happening there, but it had something to do with them dropping out of light speed.
Yeah. And of course, to signify them going through light speed, you had to do it with lights and color. You didn't have like what we would eventually get with Star Trek and Star Wars, the visual effects of light speed like that, because they hadn't come up with anything like that.
Well, Star Trek must have liked it because they were extremely inspired by this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. It's crazy how much has been pulled from this, right?
Right. Yeah.
This was really the stem a lot of modern sci-fi. And I mean 56 is such a long time ago, and you kind of compare it to like Star Wars and Star Trek, and they have, they look pretty different, but you can see like the base of these ideas, coming from this movie. But I think like later iterations find a more entertaining way to use a lot of these stemming points here. But I'm kind of wondering what you guys think about, Robby's character, the robot. Obviously, we're all on the same page. We thought he would be evil, but like when we're first introduced to him, he has like this upbeat personality. I was reading about it and I heard that this was the very first robot in any film or TV series to ever have a real personality on screen, which I thought was interesting. Like, wow, this is an interesting way to start it off. He's such a great, captivating character, even though, you don't see any emotions from him. He's got quite a bit of personality. And, so he's very personable. He has, he's like extremely reliable and efficient. He's working on 100% efficiency here. Do you guys consider like these like really positive introductory aspects of this character to be sort of deceptive, like in the very beginning? Did you think that eventually he would turn into a villain, or what were your thoughts on that?
I thought he'd get damaged or malfunction and turn bad. That's what I was hoping for. Because he was so, like you said, he was too good to be true. And He had everything. He had all the resources and all the answers. And one thing that could go great in this movie is he turns bad and becomes one of the antagonists. But like you said, none of those fun things happened. So I was kind of disappointed in his character.
Yeah.
I would say the exact same thing, though. I thought we're just a scene where, because how do you tell emotion on a robot? I was looking forward to things like that, where maybe he would just turn to the camera and oh, something's going to happen right now. But yeah, it was kind of interesting seeing that he was so upbeat and happy, and you see how many other movies and shows have copied that almost to nauseum at this point.
Oh, definitely to nauseum.
Yeah.
Like that's all it is now, right?
Everyone has a sarcastic robot now.
And for $125,000 at the time, you could have done a lot more with it, honestly. I mean, what is that? What would that be, like almost $1 million today?
Gosh. Yeah, probably way more than $1 million today. Huh. Yeah, I'd be curious to know that conversion. Yeah, it was expensive to make back then. Were you going to say something, Ian?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I might have had a brief moment where I kind of thought that he could have turned evil, but as the movie progressed, I kind of felt like, I don't really see him turning evil. I mean, yeah, he's obviously got his built-in mechanisms and stuff like that, and Morbius could use him to do something evil. But as the story progressed, I kind of thought like, I don't think Morbius is going to use him to do anything, cause any harm to the crew, because clearly, as the story progresses, you see Robby is more of a comedic type of character. Like that scene that he has with the cook on the ship, and he's helping him get all those bottles of whiskey and everything like that. As that was when I started thinking, he's probably not going to turn evil or anything like that. And obviously he doesn't. So I could see where you guys are coming from. It is kind of disappointing that we don't see him become something of an antagonist as the story goes on. That probably would have made it more interesting. But I guess for budgets and schedule's sake, they had to, kind of reduce his character in the story a little bit. So yeah, it is kind of now that I think about it, what you said, Brawler, it is kind of a waste of $150,000. Just
$1.4 million today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they did continue to use him in other projects. Twilight Zone, and I think even Lost in Space he showed up. I'm pretty sure it was
a similar looking robot in Lost in Space.
Okay.
That they had available. Yeah, they
But
had
Rocky
the same
IV.
kinds of arms and pincers.
Oh yeah, Rocky IV too.
But the head was different.
The robot's totally different in Rocky.
Yeah, I
IV.
know.
Oh,
He's got the arms and stuff.
That's
Not
so
that
stupid.
robot. Like,
Nice. That's
who taught it to talk like that?
I hadn't thought of it until you guys brought it up, but I wonder if they kept it out of the evil doing because they didn't want anybody to get in a tussle with this thing and then they break it. They break their costume, or damage
that probably
it.
would be the case.
Well, I read into this before, obviously, and I read that the original guy in the costume got fired because he was kind of tumbling around in the suit.
Well, he got drunk. He got drunk while he was in the suit. That's why he was tumbling around.
Drink some of that 60 gallons of bourbon.
They don't want to risk damaging this priceless artifact. And Ian, you said like it's a shame they did this, right? But I mean, look, we're still talking about this robot. This robot is like, it's iconic, right? I mean, that's what, when you think of Forbidden Planet, you think of this. You really don't think much of Leslie Nielsen or any of these older actors. You don't really even think much about the movie itself. You think of Robby here. You think of Robby, you remember Robby, you remember his scenes, and you remember just how useful he is. And you think, man, I really wish I had one of those because there's nothing he can't do. Which kind of leads me to my next question before I get to the chat, because I want to say hi to everybody. Do you think that his like absolute resourceful nature and the abilities that he had, did you think that it was just too much? I feel like there's like this movie, it's I'm not that familiar with a lot of like classical sci-fi, so maybe more sci-fi films are like this, but I think there is definitely a cap for how far you can take the power level or the intelligence or the capabilities of a, an ultra civilized, intelligent force and system. And this movie does that with how far, how far advanced this ancient civilization is. And to me, it was just too much. I can't even possibly believe it. And especially with Robby's character, what he's able to do, it just doesn't make any sense because there are no resources that he pulls from. So what did you guys think? Gen X Man, you were kind of agreeing with me there.
I guess the whole thrust, the thing that they wanted you to think about or dwell on was how fantastic all of these advancements were. And it's like a utopian view of the future. And yes, we're just going to keep progressing and we're going to keep finding new ways to generate or tap into power sources. We're going to have unlimited computing capacity. We'll be able to synthesize anything from anything. And yeah, I think that was just sort of the mindset back then is everything's just going to keep getting better and better and better. And so Robby was the do-it-all robot.
Yeah, it's a little far-fetched for me. You guys have any thoughts?
I thought it was real. I mean, it's kind of stupid, like you said, how they have one guy can build this on this little planet. But I thought it was really cool how he could analyze any element or pretty much anything you put inside of them, and you can analyze it and say what's inside of it. I thought that was really cool. I didn't really like how he can lift it was 10,000 tons of lead with one arm. That didn't seem realistic.
See, the problem is we need the Zack Snyder extended director's cut of this movie. Saw Rebel Moon, hated its guts. Watching the director's cuts now, love it. We need the director's
Are you serious?
cut. Oh, it's night and day, dude.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I'm sorry, Joe. I have to disagree with you on that. I mean,
the first 15 minutes, that didn't make you go, wow, let's get more of this?
I mean, I was so excited for that movie when they announced it because I was like, oh, okay, Zack Snyder's Star Wars. Let's see how that does. I watched both the theatrical cut, the first cut and then the director's cut. And I was just like, oh, man, I can't believe I was excited for this. This is taking way too long. And this is I get it. It's a more edgier R-rated version of Star Wars. And that's interesting. But I just don't think he executed it as well as he could have. Or I think it just he overplayed his hand with that movie. No disrespect to you, man.
I don't want to keep up the stream by talking more about it, but we'll get to another day.
Nice. Yes. When the new Rebel Moon comes out, his fifth sequel, whatever it may be.
There's no more. It costs too much to make the second one.
Good.
Probably costs more than that Electric State movie.
Ooh, yikes. Poor bastards. Luke, I think when you think of Robby, I like his believability. I like the idea that he can maybe he could study and analyze any element you put in him. I think that's cool. And he can diagnose what the contents are. That's good. Believing that he can carry that much weight, I don't think so. That doesn't make much sense. And then his ability to produce anything out of the clear blue sky, that's far-fetched too. And we understand later in the movie that there is an endless source of energy, right? That you can craft your wildest imaginations from. But that just having that sort of source of power just doesn't mean that it's believable entirely, especially with how far-fetched we go with what a person, even a human, is able to create with their own subconscious. So I think his character being able to do a lot of those things just seemed a little silly to me. But this is another world. This is a different planet. These people the Krells are far beyond our intelligence. But
he did have limits, which I like. He could have had more. because if he didn't want to do something or couldn't do something, his head would almost explode, like a bunch of electricity would pop out, and there could have been things that that weren't seen on screen or that he could have done that would have gone wrong. So he did have limits.
Well, yeah, it seemed like the only limit that we saw was his limit to kill. Like he just doesn't have the capabilities to kill.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there's something else, right? Like you said, maybe there is something else that we just don't see.
Never know.
You never know what happens, in the scenes you miss in a movie, right? There's a whole world here, and when you're spending time with Leslie Nielsen in one scene, his crew's doing something totally different in the background, and it's kind of fun thinking about that. What's going on behind the scenes.
They're all drinking that liquor.
Yeah, trying to hook up with the daughter.
Yeah,
definitely.
Just
him and just that cook. The cook was the one drinking it all. He was hogging it all. That whole pile of whiskey and everything.
It's his idea.
Yeah, I wonder how many of those he went through. Probably a lot. What was it? 600 gallons? Is that what he said?
Gallons.
60 gallons?
Yeah, 60 gallons.
60 gallons. Like that's like unbelievable. It's hard to even picture how much that is.
Like worth 10 lifetimes.
Oh, that's funny. Here, let's get to some of the chats here. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate you. Let's see. Our friend Mega Spidey Man's back. €5. We appreciate it, bro. Thanks for starting us off strong. Mega Spidey Man says, hello there. Is this your first 50s sci-fi film? And will you cover any more on the streams? Forbidden Planet's a comic shop in Dublin, Ireland. Oh, cool. I feel like I've heard like Forbidden Planet used as a title for so many things, like foods, drinks, like comic shops. I feel like I've seen a comic shop in America that's called Forbidden Planet something, like Forbidden Planet Comics, Forbidden Planet Oddities. I feel like I've heard that at some point. But I can't think of any others. I'm planning on watching Mega Spidey Man. Let us know if there's some on mind, and maybe we'll consider them. I can't really think of any other like super iconic ones from the 50s either. Can you guys?
Wasn't the thing there was a previous or the first version of it?
Yeah,
maybe in the 60s or 50s.
I definitely think it was from the 50s, the original one that John Carpenter's is based off of, because there's a famous clip from the first Halloween movie when they're when Laurie is babysitting the kids and they're watching TV, and what comes on the title for the thing, and it's the original one from the 50s, but they copied it again when he did the remake of his version in the 80s.
Oh, that's interesting. So maybe we'll talk about the original, but I mean they're pretty similar though, from what I've heard.
I think so.
Yeah.
And plus, more people prefer John Carpenter's version of the story.
Oh, what's disgraceful, Ian, is he is planning on making a sequel. John Carpenter. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's John Carpenter. I don't care if he's got the whole original team back. No, we are not getting a sequel to The Thing. It doesn't matter who's in control.
Who are you casting in the sequel? What's the worst person they could possibly
Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet.
How about Zendaya?
And Bella Ramsey. Bella Ramsey. She's the lead.
Bella Ramsey and Elliot Page.
She disrespects. She really hates Kurt Russell because he's a misogynist. That's
really?
Yeah. Well, that's what it's going to be. She's going to hate him and Keith David. She'll hate him too.
Shut up.
Call him a misogynist. Yeah. It's going to be really sad. So, no, we don't need that. Thanks, Mega Spider-Man. We appreciate your support, as always. Proc Files here, as always. Good to see you, buddy. He says, sup, nerds? How's everyone doing tonight? Hey, we're doing good, man.
Doing great, man.
Doing good. Good to have you on. Thanks for keeping the chat safe and sound. Proc Files says, funny coincidence. I was just watching a video of what RE4, Resident Evil 4, would have looked like if Leslie Nielsen played Leon. It's basically perfection. Nice. I am very curious about the Resident Evil games. I bought the first one, but I don't know. I had a hard time getting into it. So maybe I'll just jump into these other more popular titles, like the fourth one. So cool. Rebel Rose is here. Hey, Rebel Rose. Good seeing you. She's defending matte painting. She says, hey, matte paintings are a thing of beauty and a lost art. Yeah,
yes,
they're definitely a lost art. I mean, you don't see that at all anymore. Well, Lord of the Rings. They did, or not Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, like episode, what was it? Episode 4. That was like the Death Star, the scene where with the tractor beam. Was that matte painting?
I think you're right. There was something like that going on.
Well,
I don't know if it was matte painting. It's like, I think it's like the glass, like you were talking about, Ian, like painting the glass.
Yeah, that shot of Obi-Wan when he's in that shaft and he's pulling down the levers to try and deactivate the tractor beam, that was a total glass painting.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, pretty cool. So it's probably a little bit different then. Yeah, I think I heard for like the main set of being outside, like right here, I heard that the background there is painted, like the mountains in the background.
Everything
looks like it.
was
That's
painted.
insane. That's so weird. That's pretty convincing then. That's respectable. It's convincing enough. You know, when I was watching this, I kind of thought, like, you know, with what AI does, you know, you ask it to create a sci-fi alien world, it's gonna make this. I feel like I've just seen like AI ChatGPT art, and it just kind of looks like the rock formations and the desolate wastes of space. It just looks way too much like this movie. But, you know, that's not the movie's fault. I guess it's, hey, AI is inspired by you. Congratulations.
That's right.
And that's what this movie is kind of like almost, you know, threatened by with the subconscious to some extent. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is more relevant now.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. Megan the Texan thinks you're funny, World War Joe. I laughed so hard at Joe's description of the new robot. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Freaky, bro. You freaky.
Yeah, the booty.
Curvy robots. Our friend Kyle Corliss here. Hello, Kyle. Welcome.
Hey,
He
Kyle.
says, I hear the Rebel Moon Snyder Cut has AI booties, Joe. Whoa.
I thought those things were real. I'm sorry.
Nice. Nice. Oh, that's good. Here we go. Proc file. You're not wrong, Brawler. Robbie's pretty broken as far as plot devices go. Problems aren't nearly so interesting to solve when they all have the same answers. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Hey, we agree on something, Proc file. Good for us. Feel like everyone disagrees with me anymore. William Perry DB5KX. You're a new friend. What's up, Will? There will never be another like Leslie Nielsen. No, there won't. And you saw, you know, what's his face? Liam Neeson. I mean, he was funny. He was funny in the new Naked Gun. I thought he did a good job. Probably not, you know, he doesn't have that same sort of timing that Leslie Nielsen.
I mean, it's convincing that he would be his son.
Sure, that's convincing enough. Yeah, I'll agree with that. But yeah, cool. Well, let's move on to the next part of this. Now we get to spend some more time with our friend Dr. Morbius. Let's see. So the crew, so like I said, the crew, they landed here. They are getting comfortable. They're flirting with his daughter, which is so funny. They get so comfortable at this new planet. They, you know, originally they're kind of threatened by Dr. Morbius. Like, you know, he's obviously not interested in having them there on the planet. But, you know, so whatever. Once his daughter shows up, all the crew members, they get very excited and they just talk about how beautiful she is in front of him. And he's like, okay, yeah, sounds good. You're right. And, you know, you get a funny moment with Dr. Morbius later in the movie where he's using one of those Krell devices to create a three-dimensional design of his daughter, and she's wearing the same skimpy outfit. It's like, why are you picturing that? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. But you know, the crew, they got to see just how much of a luxurious, self-sustaining life Dr. Morbius is living, and he's living the dream, and he totally loves living out here alone because he is alone. There's no one else out here. And, you know, he's completely mastered his life here. And he is, you know, the father and the leader of his household. And the daughter, she's very strange. She doesn't have, she's almost not human in the very beginning. She doesn't show any emotion. She kind of stands around like a lifeless robot, unsure of what to do. And it's clear that, I don't know if it's like clear, but it's kind of like alluded that she's very innocent. And that's why she can't really understand these guys' interest in her and why they're so perplexed by her strange sort of lewd choice of dress and wear, because obviously, you know, the daughter wearing the short skirt dress, that's like, you know, crazy whorish back then, right? Oh, the dress isn't past your knees. Whoa, good stuff. And these guys have been in their ship for a year, so this is like Christmas for them. But yeah, obviously, this is a very strange situation. And a couple of the different crew members, they tried to play their hand with her. It doesn't work with any of them, of course, except Leslie Nielsen, because who can resist Leslie Nielsen? And Morbius, he takes some time to share the tragic fate of the original expedition and how a lot of them, well, all of them, faced a very strange doom by an invisible force. He didn't know what killed them, but something invisible tore them apart. It wasn't like a virus or some sort of illness. They were torn apart limb by limb, and he buried them all himself. And I think that probably made him a much more cold character already, but he's definitely grown to enjoy being on his own. And you kind of wonder if he's, if he acts in this strange way to protect his lifestyle, because obviously these men are interested in possibly, bringing this isolated planet to the attention of a much larger force, which is the last thing Morbius wants. He wants to keep everything the way it is. It's his perfect paradise. So there's a lot of tension that's rising because of this, and it creates for an interesting atmosphere. So why do you guys think Morbius was so keen on isolating himself and his young daughter from all of humanity?
Well, I think you nailed it. I mean, he liked the simple life. Obviously, his infatuation with that Krell society and their writings and all their accomplishments. I mean, that was a world for him to spend the rest of his life exploring and learning about. And then, I think his daughter provided the social interaction he still needed. But so I think that was part of it. Plus, as we came to find, he wasn't a bad man, and he didn't want other people to come to harm. So that's why, I think, partly why he wanted them to stay away.
And maybe I just thought of this. Maybe that beast doesn't like when there's a big big population on the planet. It probably likes it small, and maybe Morbius picked up on this, and he doesn't want to risk another devastating killing spree,
catastrophe.
Wouldn't you think to maybe warn them about that?
Well, yeah,
he told them on the radio, hey, don't come here. And then they show up. He's like, oh, hi, gentlemen. It's like, didn't you just tell it? I feel like this movie, there's a lot of it missing. It feels like it's a really incomplete movie.
Yes.
Because like I said, he just said, don't come down here. And then, oh, sure, come look at my daughter whose skirt is way too short.
Let me see if I can find
I thought
a
she was
picture.
going to be a robot or something because it was so short. I thought Robby was going to be like holding this dude hostage or something. There was so much of this movie I expected.
It was all too welcoming. You're right.
Yeah.
If she bent over just a little bit, you'd literally see her ass. I mean, it was
one gust of wind and those guys are going crazy.
Well, the other thing, I don't disagree with you there, Joe, but let's just think about it from his point of view. Morbius, he's this scientist guy. He lives in his head most of the time, and he probably just wasn't thinking about, well, how are they gonna view my daughter once they get here, and hey, maybe you better put something else on. I mean, he might just be absent-minded in that way.
Literally anything else would have been better to put on that.
I don't know about that. I mean, it would be kind of it's like as a dad, I would think he probably would have told her, hey, you might want to put on something a little bit more modest than that. It would, even as a scientist, he'd be kind of like, and especially as a scientist, he'd be like, hey, you might be sending these guys the wrong message without knowing it. Okay. But it's like, as a scientist, I think like you see his perspective of this technology. He's fascinated with, but he also sees the danger. So you see him trying to keep people from getting their hands on it because he knows that in the hands of some big intergalactic space force or government, they would abuse it. It's because, again, this movie coming out in the 50s, it's a commentary on the nuclear war at the time, or the threat of nuclear war. You know, it's like, what happens when some new breakthrough in science is discovered? Well, the government tries to get their hands on it and turns it into a weapon. So he knows that somebody here, somebody would eventually find out about this Krell technology and try to use it as a means to cause destruction. Well, as we progress in the story, we find out, well, he's unknowingly bringing about that destruction that he's talking about, because the monster is an extension of him. They talk about it later on in the film, towards the end. They wait till the end to tell us that this creature is a product of you using this machine and creating a copy that you don't realize is of you. So it's like when you see the monster attacking these crew members, it's a part of him doing it out of protection, out of a sense of keeping this technology, this world, and his daughter safe. And some of it's altruistic, other it's also kind of selfish at the same time, you realize.
Yeah, I was. I guess I'll clarify. I was half kidding about him being a reclusive nerd that didn't have any sense about him. I think the most basic explanation was, yeah, we got to get the teenage boys in the seats. Let's put a pretty girl on there and give her a mini skirt, like one of you said earlier.
Yeah, it was one of the most memorable moments for me.
Yeah,
you're gonna watch it again, aren't you?
It's on background right now.
Fun fact about that: this movie was actually banned in Spain for 10 years because of her outfits.
Wow!
What? Spain invented things like that.
10 years.
Yeah, I guess they forgot about that. But yeah. The government banned this movie from being played in theaters in Spain for 10 years until the 60s, because they're like, oh, it's a girl in a immodest outfit and everything like that, showing off too much legs.
How times have changed.
Ian will never forget this appearance. Oh, that's funny. Nice. Well, you made some great points there, Ian. I like hearing like the commentary it had on like nuclear energy or whatever else, right? Because I wondered if there was something going on in the background. I don't think they ever obviously they don't mention it because this is like super far into the future, so they don't ever mention like the fear of nuclear technology, right?
Yeah, and that's also how they were able to get away with it, as a sci-fi film, because it's like, at the same time in the 50s you had, the communist witch hunts going on and McCarthyism and stuff like that, and so the government was always looking real closely at the subliminal messages in their films and stuff like that, and so they had to try and find ways to put this commentary in the film without being a little bit more subtle. And it's like, well, it's a sci-fi adventure film. They're like, well, that's dumb. Who cares about that? Nobody cares. It's just juvenile. No one's going to read too much into it. But then surprisingly, a lot more adults really like this film because they were able to understand the messaging in it.
Can I poke fun at this particular frame? I don't remember what they're looking at, but I remember when this was on the screen, I was like, why is he holding his arm? And Leslie Nielsen's kind of, leaning into it.
This is a good scene, man. This is literally a guy and his girlfriend, and she's holding on to him while he's walking around. That's exactly what's happening. He's holding his arm out like, follow me, I'm the leader, you're the follower.
Or what if it's a scene of, hey, my robot butler's going to murder me, please save me.
Ooh, there you go. Wow, very interesting. He's the recessive one, the doctor. He's recessive. Oh gosh, that is so funny. Nice, Gen X man. Well, I briefly mentioned that, quite a few of these guys, they were all interested in Altair. They all loved her. She's so beautiful. And one of the guys, he just starts kissing her, and he convinces her that it's for her health, it'll make her feel better. And, she doesn't feel anything. And she's like, I'm supposed to be stimulated, right? Oh, I feel nothing. And he's like, oh, crap. And of course, Leslie Nielsen comes into the picture and he starts like giving it to her straight, that like, you're not this princess, blah, blah, blah. And, she's like, originally she's pretty like not turned off by him, but kind of stunned with how blunt he is and how he doesn't exactly, he's so different than her father that he's like this an enigma. And I guess I'm kind of wondering, eventually it obviously works between the two of them, but there was a whole crew of guys here. And eventually she chooses him. She comes out of this weird space she's in because in the very beginning, like we all probably, like we're talking about here, we all thought she was a robot. I thought she was a robot too, just way more advanced because of how like sterile and emotionless she was. But once she like kind of falls in love with Leslie Nielsen's Commander Adams, she finally has these emotions stirring. What do you think it was about his character that was able to bring out those emotions in hers?
Conflict.
Blue eyes.
Nice.
That charm.
That always does it.
It's that classic thing in any romance that you have in films is like the two love interests, they start off hating each other, but then it's like forces outside their control keep bringing them back together, and they're frustrated. But the more they spend time with each other, the more they start to get to know each other and start to like each other a little bit more, to the point to where they're like, I can't see my life without this person. So you have that with him. Like you see, she's getting all this attention, all this positive attention from all these other guys. And it's like this one guy who clearly seems to not necessarily have a problem with her, but he's not as ready to go after her as much as the other guys are. He's showing some restraint. And then, of course, he's also criticizing her dress and everything like that, criticizing how she's letting these guys kind of, come on to her like that and believing everything that they're saying. Like, that one guy who's who kisses her first, the way he described the captain to her is like he's more of a ladies' man than the rest of us. So it's like he's kind of spreading false ideas about his leader to her. But then she starts to see that this guy is more real than the rest of these guys because he, like you said, he's blunt, he's straight with her. He doesn't try to dance around, the fact that she's coming on a little too strong to some of these guys without really. Well, actually, she's not really coming on to them so strong. They're coming on to her, but she's kind of allowing it.
Yeah.
Just because she doesn't have experience with them. Yeah, she is basically kind of a robot because she's lived on this planet without any real human interaction other than her dad, and she's basically been raised by a robot.
Yeah, and I can't imagine, his character, Morbius, he's not really that charismatic either. And, I don't think she was raised with a mother. I think the mother died when she was young. That's kind of my interpretation. I don't think they went into that much, but yeah, I mean, why wouldn't she act sterile? A scientific father that, is probably more in his head about, analytical things than emotional things, probably wouldn't be able to, have the expertise to educate her on simple emotions and, love and that aspect of her life, which she is now discovering with Leslie Nielsen. So
yeah, since we've seen her in the film, she's been with that amount for 19 years. So that's like,
crap. Yeah,
pretty much whole lifetime without her.
Well, that's why we got Robby, though. He'll explain to her, the birds and the bees and stuff like that.
Wow, he can make anything he wants out of himself. So I don't know.
That's exactly what we want for our kids. Artificial intelligence teaching them all these little details.
That's where we're headed.
The birds and the bees. Your doll will be able to tell. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no thanks. Oh man. Well, I think Adams, he had a new perspective, right? Compared to what she's been raised by this entire time. And, I can't imagine how fascinated I would be with somebody that was so utterly different than anything I've ever heard in my life. I imagine that was pretty surprising for her. I want to get I guess we could kind of get into this now because it's about to happen. But there's a strange scene where her character is almost like magical in a way, which also kind of makes you wonder if there's something supernatural related to her. Because we see her time, her friends, she's introducing her friends, which initially the crewmen, this was a red flag for them because they thought, oh, so there are more people that live here. Morbius is a liar. He already lied that he was alone. Now there's even more people. So she goes into this strange little space that's, forested, and it looks beautiful. It looks like Earth, like a zoo or something. And, she blows this whistle, which is like, a super high pitch that the normal ear can't even hear. And all of a sudden these deer come out and this tiger and, and this is another planet. Like, how did this happen? And strangely enough, they all love her. And that, they talk about how she's like Snow White, right? And the tiger comes up to her like there's nothing wrong. And, later when the two embrace and they start like making out of sorts, the tiger attacks them. I was kind of wondering what this meant. And I read about it, and it suggested that it was her innocence that gave her this strange, like, protected aura that kept her safe from the animals, and that attracted their presence and their admiration for her. And once she sort of broke that by coming into relation with Leslie Nielsen, she was now a threat to them. I don't know if you guys have any, short thoughts on that before we move on.
That's what I got from it.
No, I would say more, wasn't she raised with the tiger? So the tiger wouldn't naturally want to hurt her. And then, of course, it's like having a dog. Your dog's all friendly, and then, someone knocks on the door and it goes crazy.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
like
a good way of
they
thinking
get
of it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
so
see
somebody else.
he sees Leslie trying to knock on her door, and the tiger goes crazy.
I honestly kind of thought it had something to do with the machines, the Krell machines, and like how they're sending out these radio waves, causing all of these the monster from Morbius's subconscious. I thought it had something to do with that, but I think what you said definitely it makes more sense that the tiger was getting defensive, with another male moving in, and and felt like it had to defend her or something like that. But
that's a great reality answer, isn't it? It's not like all of this like crazy sci-fi lingo and this wonderful like Krell technology. Like that makes so much sense that it's literally just a real life situation. Your dog, it loves you when you're in the house. He won't bite you or bark at you, but then your friend knocks on the door, then he goes crazy and he'll even bite you. That's like perfect. Like, how could it not be?
Well, we also got to think it's tiger, so
yeah,
it's a pretty pretty mean animal, to strangers. So I honestly thought he was just jumping at Leslie Nielsen, but she was in the way. I didn't think it was attacking her personally.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I think all are fair assessments. It's a strange situation, and they don't really talk about that much because it was weird that she had like this sort of like enchantment over the animals, because obviously it's not like a normal thing. But I guess if you're raised to be with them, then that makes sense. Let's get into some more of the supernatural components of the story. This is interesting. We're now moving into the third chapter, where an unforeseen force sabotages the ship's communication gear. You have a couple of the crew members there. They're standing watch over the ship. It's later in the evening, and an invisible entity climbs into the ship, and he gets away with sabotaging the communication gear. And I believe he also kills one of the crewmates during this time too. And this was like very strange because nobody saw it coming. One of the crewmates was asleep, and he like sort of woke up and looked over, but he's like half asleep, so he didn't really know what was going on. And but nevertheless, this was a serious situation. And the next time they set up their defenses, and they include an energy barrier in this, which makes for unfortunately and not a very strong wall of protection against the villain to come soon after. But here we are, we're just talking about the very first encounter. you know, from the first time we see this thing, you know, we don't get a good look at it unless, you know, it is involved with the strange like laser protective fences. Did you guys think that this invisible monster from the id, which, you know, they reference this like this, you know, like parallel reality as the id, did it pose as a frightening antagonist to you guys, or, you know, did you want to see more from these you know, this invisible monster that continues to plague our main cast of characters?
You know, before they showed it, yeah, it was intimidating, and you know, because the fear of the unknown. But then when they went and showed it, you know, it was, you know, not scary. We described it. Gen X and I described it almost like a Disney character, like an old Disney character, like the Beast or something.
Well, something weird was I heard that they borrowed one of the old Disney animators. He came over and he animated those scenes. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because MGM had gotten rid of their animation department at that time, so they had to reach out to Walt Disney and say, hey, can we have one of your guys come over here and animate this for us? And I mean, I definitely didn't find it scary that much. Even like when it was invisible, when they didn't show it. I mean, as soon as like you have that one part where you see those footprints in the ground, I'm like, okay, you lost me. I'm sorry.
It piques my curiosity, though.
It's been a long time, and I can't recall how old I was, but I remember I was quite a bit younger when I first saw it, and I did think it was kind of freaky, that it was invisible and that nothing could stop it, you know, and they're blasting it with everything they got, and it just kept coming, and I thought it was pretty spooky the first time I saw it, but that was, I think, before I had experienced all the you know, the blood and gore fest that we get from Aliens and Terminator and everything else since.
Yeah, see, I've never seen it until now. So all those other films, Terminator and Aliens, Predators, like, yeah, that's kind of taking away the fascination of those kind of effects for me. Because it's like, you look at the Predator, it's another example of a creature that is invisible and, you know, kills everybody off one by one. Obviously, they took that from this, but they did it better.
Yeah, I think it's like, I feel like we're at a point now where, you know, you get to a certain age, and if you don't see something graphic to some level, then you're not going to be scared by something. I can't really think of any. Well, I mean, Signs, you know, someone in the chat mentioned Signs. I'm still kind of scared by the aliens in Signs. You don't see anything graphic with them. Yes, nice, Luke. I do. That's me. That's me, man. But I feel like nowadays I need something. You know, they're talking about how horrifying and evil this invisible monster is. You don't have to show me the monster, but can you show me what it did to somebody? Like, okay, the monster tore up the one of the guys in the ship. Like, you don't have to be super graphic, but can we look in the ship and see red paint on the walls, you know, red paint and maybe an arm on the floor? Like, I want to see how serious of a threat these things are. Because like when you see it pick somebody up and just hold them and just kind of caress them a little bit and drop them on the floor, I don't know. That's like, I'm not too scared at that point. But yeah, I think like just showing the aftermath and show how, you know, how dangerous it is would do the trick. And we don't even really see it do that much to these guys when it has a hold of them, you know, especially like later on when you get to the doctor and when he dies, like, you know, it's very anticlimactic, right? I mean, you just see it, you see him just kind of like shrivel a little bit, and then there he goes. So I don't know. I think they could have done more to improve that part of this.
Oh, it was the censorship back then at that time, you know, in the 50s, you know, they had, you know, obviously there was a limit of what you could show. I mean, even what they show in that scene where you see the outline from the electric fence, from the energy fence, and it was animated. Even that, in some theaters, when it was released, even here in the States, they cut that out. they cut parts of that out because they thought that alone would be too traumatizing for kids.
Wow. Dang. All right. Well, I guess this is G? This is like super low age range. I thought we were going to see one of the funny scenes where you get the girl and she's in the pool or the little pond and she's swimming and she's supposed to be naked. And I asked Gen X Man, is there going to be something here? And he said, no, like this is an old movie and there's nothing. And it's so funny when she comes out of the water, you see her in a beige dress. And she's obvious. Like, it was so funny, even though it's supposed to be that she's not wearing anything. That was the funniest thing to me.
It was all wrinkled.
So that's what I was like, okay, this is like, that's a clear indication that this was a different time.
I think it was like some kind of plastic bathing suit. That she was wearing.
Well, it looked like it was almost like a skirt or like a dress or something because it wasn't just like skin tight or anything. It like flowed a little bit. It was weird, but I don't care. I just thought it was kind of funny. But here, real quick, let me get to a few of these chats. Our friend Proctophile, member for 1 month. Thanks, Proctophile. He says, important question, guys. Do you know what an id is? Because it's not just an alien, it's a psychological term. Yes. Well, I mean, I learned what it was in this. I thought it was interesting seeing that it was, it's an embodiment of subconscious, right? I mean, it's it's not an alien. It's sort of, obviously it's the doctor's subconscious come to life in a monster form that is, driven to tear up whatever threatens his desires in his subconscious, right? I mean, that's kind of my interpretation of it.
It comes out of Freudian psychology, which was very popular at the time that this movie came out. And Sigmund Freud's concept of the mind was you had these three parts that were operating together. One was the id, which was kind of like the primitive mind that was focused on basic things like food, water, sex, protection, things like that. And like our base impulses reside in the id, and that all operates at a subconscious level most of the time. And then you had the superego, which is like all of our society's highest ideals, love, sacrifice, loyalty, forgiveness, whatnot. That's imposed on us by our society, but it's a part of who we are too. And then the middle is your ego, which is your conscious personality that's sort of balancing the two, or sort of in tension between the ego and the id, and it sounded like this machine or whatever was empowered more by the id than by his superego, and so apparently he had a very protective instinct, and that's what it picked up on and created this monster to do, which was defend the territory.
That's terrifying to me, because what happens if the machine was on the Tourette's dude that just yelled the N-word at the awards ceremony?
Man.
That would be a very interesting collection of characters.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, don't hook him up to that. Like, does the id come from the brain booster? Like, do you once you boost your brain and you put your mind into that system, is that where it stems from? No,
the id is like something that all of us have in us.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was something about him getting the brain boost that maybe he established a more deep connection with that whole system than an ordinary person would. I'm not sure they really said why it was being motivated by his id and nobody else's. I don't know about that.
Well, I think they said it was because it was an extension of his subconscious. Like when he puts the head thing on, it's like he unknowingly unlocks that part of him, like a projection of that part of him, and it's running loose, and he doesn't realize it. But it's like whenever he has feelings like of like losing his daughter, or these guys are gonna take this technology and use it for themselves, that what he's thinking, this creature also feels it, and that's when it acts it acts on those feelings for him, and tries to kill off all these guys. I think that's what it was they were saying.
Crap. Sorry, man. You're breaking up a little bit. You're good. We get the love. We hear the love, Ian. We appreciate the love.
Oh, I could hear him.
Very
okay.
good.
Oh,
you good?
Must
have
Yeah,
been.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
good.
He didn't break up.
Oh, you're good. My bad. I got my system. My system is weird. Like the intro, I don't know what happened. I kept hearing myself like 3 times over. It was so stupid. That's why I froze. Okay, good. It's my system then. Great question, Proctfile. Thanks for posing it for us, buddy. That's a good one. And we were gonna get into that later, but I think we broke it down pretty well right there. So good stuff, Ian. Yeah, everybody is surprised. Wait, is that a young Leslie Nielsen? Bloodwire Radio 4556 asks. Yes, it's young Leslie Nielsen. Isn't that
Wait,
weird?
Leslie
It's
Nielsen's
really
in this
weird.
movie? Where?
Yes.
Was he the
Are
monster?
you kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, I thought we talked about this already. He said, I just thought he had been old since birth. Yeah, right.
Isn't that how we think about all old people? They've always looked like that.
Yeah, he
Morgan
looks good.
Freeman.
He doesn't look anything like his older self. I mean, this looks like a totally different dude. And he doesn't even sound all that much like him either. I mean, he sounds close, but...
Well, he's also,
yeah, way younger here.
40 years younger. So
yeah.
But on that note, there are certain actors that no matter what their age, they look old.
What Tommy Lee Jones?
Yeah, he's one of them.
Robert what's his face? Robert
De Niro.
Duvall.
Or Duvall.
And
he looked about the same for about 50 years.
Morgan Freeman.
Maybe Morgan Freeman.
He's been old for a long time though. Now he's super old.
Who's I can't remember. Willem Dafoe. I always thought he had an old looking face, even when he was young.
Yeah, I've seen.
No, he just had an acid splash face.
Nice.
Mickey from Rocky.
Yeah, Mick.
Oh yeah.
He looked old in Rocky movies, probably because he was old. Do you know anything else? Any other titles he was in?
Played the Penguin in Batman series. Yeah, he was old then too.
Oh my gosh, you're right. That's insane.
He was also in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, that was him.
Have you ever seen the episode of him in the Twilight Zone, The Obsolete Man?
No,
I didn't see that one.
Oh,
wow,
that's such a great movie.
I heard that the actress who plays the main female lead in this was famous for a Twilight Zone role as well. I didn't know what.
Probably.
I didn't know which title it was. I thought maybe it was the one with all the people with the pig faces, but it wasn't that. No, yeah, it's pretty weird. It's funny, all of these actors that are in this film, they were all kind of big names at the time. Like that, I don't know his first name. Was it Ed Pidgeon? I know his last name was Pidgeon. The guy who plays Morbius, he was like a big name back then. And here we are now, and it's like, who's this guy? It hasn't exactly, stood the test of time in that way. These guys aren't the big stars that we are, that they were familiar with back then. So pretty interesting. It's weird. But here, let's move on to the next part of the story here. We're going into the unlocking of forbidden knowledge. So this is a pretty interesting sequence during the film. Adams, which is, Leslie Nielsen, him and another one of the crew members, Dr. Ostro, they investigate deeper into Morbius's world, kind of rooting through his office to see what's up, because they think he is attached to the murder of one of the crewmates who was able to, slide under their defenses. And, while they were rooting around, they bumped into him. And it was kind of strange how Morbius, initially he was pretty, he was not interested in kind of giving them the entire laydown. Nobody was supposed to go in his office. There was a lot of stuff that was, restricted access to them. And I think he's fair to do that. And at this point in time, though, once they reveal what happened, he's like, all right, let me sit you down and tell you what's really going on. So he sits them down. He tells them more about the history of the Krell. And then he shows them these, incredible, extensive labs and spaces that the Krell developed that are deep underground. And, his office here is connected to one of the strange port that takes you throughout the entire system. And, the first space we spend time in is this weird Krell laboratory with tons of different, machinery and such with different capabilities, which are all very strange. And then he goes further into the system where there's hundreds and thousands of levels that don't have like anything in them. It's a very strange space, and they span dozens of miles long, and they go down tons of levels, like unbelievable levels, which it just doesn't make sense why this would even exist. And of course, this is like a deep history lesson into the long extinct Krell race. And we find out that they are immensely powerful, and their power still spans to this day, even though none of them exist or are alive. It's their technology that makes it possible for things to materialize through your thoughts instantly. And it's like, it's something that you can't possibly imagine. And somehow this Krell race was able to figure that out. And even stranger enough, all of this ancient technology is self-sustaining. If there is some part of it that needs to be repaired, it will be automatically repaired. And it's lasted tons and tons of centuries. Gosh, I can't remember how many centuries it lasted. I think it was like, what was it like? Was it like 2000 centuries or something crazy like that, or 200 centuries? It was like, these guys have been around for so long, and for whatever reason, it's magic pretty much. All of this technology is still running just fine on its own. And this is where, we learn that it has a very terrifying implication when it's linked to the human mind. It just doesn't work properly exactly. So this is a deep moment. I mean, if you weren't sitting down and paying attention during this entire breakdown from Morbius, then you probably would be left astray for the rest of the movie, because it was really hard to keep up with how much he was dishing out here. I was kind of wondering, so I think we kind of briefly talked about this earlier, but why do you think Dr. Morbius, he used the strange brain booster and he survived it. And he mentions himself that his intellect was pretty similar to the doctor's, who doesn't survive the brain boost when he does it later. And there had been others that had failed as well and had perished because they thought they could do the boost, but didn't succeed. So why was it that he was able to survive the brain booster while others at, nearly the same intellect couldn't do it?
Beside from, having an IQ of 182, I have no clue. I mean, he was smart enough to invent a robot, with so many capabilities. So, his brain can withhold this amount of power. I don't know.
I just figured he got lucky. Like once in a while, someone's going to survive, and he happened to be the one.
I think that's what it is too. Though he was just the lucky one.
Yeah, he says how like when he did it the first time, it knocked him out for several days, but it also boosted his brain level, his IQ level, so that the next time he was able to operate it without any issues. So it's clearly the writers obviously just wanted to come up with some easy way to explain it. It's like it's ridiculous, but it's like, let's just say he tried it on. It zapped him halfway to death, but he somehow miraculously survived, and now he can operate it, without having that happen again. It's like clearly it's another example of people thinking like, oh, it's just another dumb sci-fi movie. Really, no one's going to take it seriously. So we can get away with not explaining anything, but it's like you made it a little bit smarter than you think, but in some areas you just forgot to make it cohesive with the rest of the film, with how smart the rest of the film is.
Yeah, I think you have to just clean it up down to luck, right? I mean, because I thought he mentioned that the doctor, like the younger doctor, I thought he was kind of comparing himself to Morbius, being like, they were on a similar level and he survived. And I thought, later on when Dr. Ostro, when he dies, I thought he passed out like Morbius did. Like oh, he's fine. He'll he just needs to sit this one out. But he's dead. He dies later on. So that kind of surprised me a little bit because it was my interpretation that they were around the same level. So I guess you kind of just have to put that down to chance. I know we have we're having quite a few new names today, so I appreciate all these new people joining us. Alsrod, you're new. Thanks for joining us. Leslie Nielsen, very young. I think that's Leslie Nielsen in this picture too. Is that him?
No,
that's a weird. No, that's not him. Oh, okay, whatever. Max's Models, you're also new. What's up? Man or lady? I got somebody's. I got it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
What was it?
Two genders anymore, Jackson.
That was so funny. I can't remember who it was, but
it
I got
was
something wrong. It was like a dude, and I kept calling him a girl or something.
That's hilarious.
That was really funny. But Max's Models, thanks for joining us. This person says this movie pioneered the now standard triumvirate command structure of the captain, first officer, and doctor. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that got picked up by Star Trek.
That's interesting. Wow, cool.
I would probably think that one of the main reasons why it has that chain of command like that is because a lot of these guys came from military backgrounds. You think about it, this is the 50s. A lot of these guys, the writers, the filmmakers, and the actors are veterans of World War II.
Wow, that's cool. Imagine that, being a veteran of World War II and then being a creative involved in a film. Like, wow, that's insane.
Probably one of the most influential actors back then who was a well-known veteran of World War II? Jimmy Stewart. Yeah.
I haven't seen anything with him in it.
Oh, man. Like the scene from It's a Wonderful Life when he's breaking down in the bar and he's praying to God, show me the way, because he's just lost all that money. He thinks he's going to go to jail for bankruptcy. And you see him breaking down. He was really utilizing a lot of the PTSD that he was going through at that time, because he actually didn't think he was ever going to come back to making movies, because he did like several bombing runs as a pilot in World War II. And he suffered from a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder. But when Frank Capra brought him on to It's a Wonderful Life and they did that scene, he says, use it, man. Just use it, and it worked.
That's cool. That's nice. He was able to reroute that, that energy into something positive like that. We don't have much of that in, our present day stories. I don't know of any modern veterans that are, active in film. That would be interesting to learn about. Do you have any?
Well, there is one that I know about. I can't think of his name. He does mostly a lot of comedy. But he was in the Army. Obviously, one that a lot of people like to bring up is Adam Driver, but he didn't really serve overseas. He was in the Marines. He didn't get a chance to go overseas because he had an injury with his leg.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. Something strange about this is obviously, we get these here. Let me show the picture here. We talked about it earlier. We see the depths and the levels of how advanced this, this civilization is or was. And it's pretty far-fetched. And, we've kind of talked about that a little bit. But why do you think, obviously all of their advancements, it led to their extinction. None of it really seemed to benefit them at all. And here it is, tons of time later, past their all of their lives have expired at this point, and it's still negatively affecting the world. So obviously the film is trying to kind of portray this this maximum realization of innovation and intelligence as like self-destructing. Why do you think the movie chose to paint like the end goal of technology and innovation in such a negative light like this?
I guess I'm sorry, you go first.
Well, I mean, like, obviously, again, at the time you had the Cold War, you had, the destruction of, what was those cities in Japan? Nagasaki.
Hiroshima,
Nagasaki. Yeah. And it's like, people were still dealing with the after effects of that, and then you had all the testing sites that were going on at that time in the 50s. And it's like they were trying to showcase, yeah, there's a beauty to technology and the advancements that we can have, but if we rely too heavily on it, it could inevitably be our destruction. It's like that part from Jurassic Park with Jeff Goldblum's character. He says, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should.
That's interesting. Huh. What were you going to say, World War Joe?
I was going to say exactly what he said. Exactly what the whole World War II, Oppenheimer lines and stuff like that too. Yeah, it's great that we have this technology, but it's probably going to be our downfall if we use it incorrectly, as this movie shows.
I can't imagine we'll ever get to a point where we've come up with a technology that will automatically be able to generate anything out of thin air. Like, I don't see that ever happening. No AI can do that. I mean, that's like a god level power that can't be realized through technology. That's impossible.
You say that now,
right? Exactly.
Wait till we're 80.
I think it's like it's not necessarily that technology will become that advanced. It's that we become so overly reliant on it that it's our complacency and our apathy. Just like and like our need for the next best thing to make our lives easier. It's an easy life that can kill us. I mean, we see it so much now. More laziness is what's killing us in so many ways. I mean, so many people would rather just sit at home watching stuff on streaming rather than go to a theater. Because obviously, one, it's not as expensive, and also two, because they don't know what kind of movie they're actually going to watch until they get there. If it's going to have some, Hollywood ideology in it that they don't agree with, and they don't want to go see that.
There's been so many forces against people going to the theater anymore, right? Like they shove political propaganda down our throats for 5 years. The content has gotten worse over and over again. There's no original ideas. Everything is a sequel, and it's the same formula. All of your favorite old actors and characters from the original title are having a reunion special. And then you have ticket prices. They all go up, and everything's much more convenient at home. You can watch anything from the comfort of your home for free, nearly. And there's no extra hassle of being committed to watching something that isn't that good either. Now I love the theater, right? But this is just where it's gone, and this is where we are because of how things have turned out the last 5 years.
Yeah, this isn't a new thought, but the way AI is going, I mean, anybody's going to be able to create movies, and no need to hire actors or build these great sets or even hire people to do CGI. Just give AI a script and it'll build everything for you. And I gotta imagine that is an enormous threat to Hollywood, and they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do.
It absolutely is a threat, and that's just another form of laziness in and of itself when you think about it, because then it's like, well, that doesn't really push you as a creative to actually go out and make it yourself. Because you think about it, filmmaking is a community in and of itself. You get to go to a location, you get to work with people, get to know them on the set and hear about their families, what it is that gave them this passion to actually go out and shoot a story. And it as great as AI can be for some things, I definitely think that an over-reliance on it takes away from real creativity, from real ingenuity, because like being able to actually build something with your hands, and shoot it with a camera, actually be outside experiencing the real world instead of just typing in a prompt and like that. It's like, yeah, it can be used for some things, I think. Like one film that came out recently was this Swedish alien invasion film, and they used AI basically for to they had the actors come back, the same actors from the film, re-record all their lines in English, and they used an AI program to, when they're dubbing in their English, they're dubbing their lines in English, it makes their mouths actually sync with the English recording instead of like it being out of sync, like how it usually is. Yeah, it still looks very artificial and weird, but I can actually see that being of some use. We can use it. I just think that we shouldn't be so reliant on it. There should be some limitations.
Yeah, I don't think you can have a full film like that. I think all the highlights are great, the little moments, but definitely I don't see anybody making any original stories or concepts. I think they can, like, I'm satisfied with seeing Wolverine and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man fighting for a 1-minute clip, right? And that, you know what, that scratches that itch that Marvel will never scratch and get it right. So there you go. Yeah. But I don't want to see a whole movie like that, right? And it's definitely not going to be making those like those heartwarming, touching films that appeal to your senses, that speak to you deep down. I don't think we'll ever get to that point, but it could.
Well,
it could make up for a lot of these. It could make up for a lot of these like crappy renditions of what we've been getting with franchises. What were you saying, Gen X-Men?
Yeah, I don't think we know. I mean, we're really just on the cusp of what AI is going to be able to do, and I don't think we know yet where it's going to top out. And yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. I mean, in another 5 years, I think we will be watching full feature-length movies that are AI generated. That's my prediction. We'll see.
I think you're wrong on that. I think 1 year is saying.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm being too conservative. Huh?
I'm saying 1 year.
Real quick,
the world changes.
I like this. Max's Models is popping off in the chat. I want to see what he says. Max, I like what you're saying. You got all kinds of fun stuff here. Max's Models, Predator, Badlands, and Maverick Top Gun were the only ones I went to see at the theater. Man, Predator, Badlands was Duke and it was dog, Max. I'm sorry. Top Gun Maverick was good. Sorry you had to see Badlands. Did you like that one? Max's Models also says, FYI, I am a geezer, and it is refreshing to hear young men saying what you are saying. That's good. We appreciate that, Max. Thanks. We are quite a few young men here.
Well, you just lost him now. You just crapped on his movie.
Sorry. Hey, he didn't say he liked it. He didn't say he liked it. And then Gen X-Man reveals he's a geezer too. Are you a geezer, Gen X-Man?
Oh, yeah. Gen X-Man. I mean, how could I not be?
Yeah,
right?
True. Max's. Have any of you guys seen any of the YouTube videos by Pierce Films? He interviews Hollywood model and prop makers. No. No, anybody?
Sounds familiar. I might have come across it once.
Hollywood model and prop makers. Maybe that's what you do, Max. I'll have to check out your channel and see what kind of models you make or whatever you do. Yeah, everybody likes physical models. You got to love that about this movie, right? I mean, the practical, the robot, he just looks so great. Imagine how lame it would be if the robot was CGI. Wouldn't that be so lame?
How someone, because I don't know who directed this, but I'm wondering if you found the guy that directed this movie and you showed him, let's say, like a Star Wars or something like that, like when they went really, really heavily into the CGI, what would someone from that time's reaction be? Would they say this isn't real art? Would they say that this is not real filmmaking? So it's just, I wonder, does the term real filmmaking, does it change with every single generation as the technology gets better?
I bet they would be impressed. I mean, it's so advanced.
Maybe, we don't know. They might look at it and say, hey, hand-drawn sets and practical effects is better than just having a computer do it.
Some of them would definitely be on board with it, and others, like you say, Joe, would definitely be like, our way was better because we're actually, using our hands. We're not relying on, a computer, to do the painting for us. I mean, it's like, it's definitely... For some people, it would definitely be a two-edged sword, but like even like the music in this film, I mean, technically it's not. Technically, it's more just sounds than music. You don't really hear like full on orchestras with violins and brass sections and stuff like that. This was like one of the first films to ever really have like electrical scores for their film. They used oscillators. It wasn't like obviously they didn't have keyboards like synthesizers, but it was a prelude to that. You can tell like John Carpenter with his films, because he did all his films like with techno music and electronic synthwave films. He was clearly inspired by this.
That's interesting. When I was reading about this, I kept seeing like, how people were, enamored by the electric soundtrack and the score, like not the score, but the music. And when I was watching this, something I enjoyed was I felt like I was getting like white noise as the background most of the time.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't even notice, like I always notice like a great music, great music score, whatever else in the background. I didn't notice it all watching this. And maybe it's because I was so like, taken in by what they were saying that I didn't notice, but I don't know. I it didn't stick out to me too much, but if it has an effect on you guys, then great. That's cool.
I mean, like the Oscars didn't even let them, it wasn't even going to nominate them for this score because they said, oh, this isn't real music. It doesn't qualify. Same like how when the first Tron movie came out, it wasn't nominated for the special effects because they were like, well, you guys used a computer, so it was cheating. So, there are people who are standoffish about it. They're like, oh, the old practical ways are better and stuff like that. And then there will be others who are like, oh, this is actually really cool. It's much easier and not as painstaking as having to build a full-on costume that breaks down. Like Anthony Daniels has talked about how he was jealous of Alan Tudyk's droid character in Rogue One, saying, "Oh, you just have to put on a gray suit and stilts and everything. You don't have to worry about your costume coming apart and cutting into your side like mine did."
We got to meet Alan, or not Alan Tudyk, Anthony Daniels, and he was great. I had a great interaction with him. He was not disappointing. He was my last hope with actors because I've met a lot of actors, and if this interaction would have been bad, I'd never meet another one again. And because I had so many bad ones and good ones, but he was awesome, and he did the voice, and he told me about his suit and how uncomfortable it was, and how in the sun what did it do? It morphed in the sun. It like bent, and it became like a shape that it wasn't originally supposed to be because of the heat. I thought that was hilarious. That's just crazy. That's how it worked back then with what they were using. So that was cool. But here, let's move on to a very exciting concluding chapter of the story, people. Here we are, the final confrontation with the monster. Now, we had that small incident earlier on with the id monster coming to kill just one of the crew members. Now it's back in full force. You have the ship is now guarded by several turrets, which are pretty cool. Several turrets. The entire crew is outside, ready to defend the ship. They are kind of planning on leaving pretty soon. So of course the id monster it approaches at the worst possible time. I mean, they're about to leave, people. Like, can you just leave us alone? Doesn't happen. And this is a very desperate defense of the ship that the crew tries to put on. And no matter all the energy they give it, I mean, they have these turrets on them. You have each of these crew members, they're pulling out their blasters and they're firing on the id monster. And it's briefly revealed here in this energy field from the electric, or I don't know what you want to call it. I guess an electric fence that shows a bit of what it looks like. And, this is sort of like, it's kind of hard to take it seriously again when you see it this way. It just kind of looks like a Disney character. It looks kind of silly a little bit. So, that kind of took away the fear factor for me, at least. But, nevertheless, it is very dangerous. And it goes on to kill more of these crew members despite all of the energy they're putting into it. Nothing they're doing can stop it. It's, an unstoppable force. So eventually, you have the big three. You have Dr. Morbius, you have Adams, and you have Altair. They charge into the house, into the lab to try to, I don't know, ward it away or get to a safe space. And they think that, the Krell lab would be a safe space, but it isn't. We'll soon find out. Strangely enough, during this time, the doctor, Dr. Ostro, this was when he tried to do the brain boost to figure out what's going on, how to beat the id monster. And that was sort of a eye-opening moment for him, where he discerned that this beast is a figment of Dr. Morbius's subconscious, and it's fighting them based off his subconscious, which is crazy. And it's not anything Dr. Morbius can do about, it's just there, and he's not controlling it. It's his subconscious at work, and his subconscious is, is battling a group of people that are unwanted in his territory. And his daughter is part of that, because she is acting against his wishes. And the subconscious doesn't care about the relationship between the two. The subconscious knows that he is deeply offended, and he's defending himself from that offense to his safety net, which is this perfect society he's built for himself here on Altair IV. So what ends up happening, the doctor dies, and they go into the lab. It's sealed. It's sealed by this very high density metal that is impenetrable, and somehow the id monster burns right through it. And once he does, Morbius has the opportunity to stop its momentum. And the way he does that is he realizes that this is all his subconscious. So he sort of denounces his subconscious, and it slowly kind of makes an effect, but it's too late. And the subconscious attacks him and kills him. It sort of like injures him, but I guess it fades away at that point. And from that moment on, as he's dying, he tells Dr. Morbius, and his dying wishes are that Adams, Leslie Nielsen, he pulls the trigger on the planet to destroy it. So he does the very thing. For whatever reason, the Krell have this system in place to self-destruct the entire planet. So they set it, they rig it to explode. They fly away. Altair, she's very sad, but she joins them. They fly far away, and they end the story in peace away from the planet. And all of that civilization, all of the advancements that the Krell have been building towards, that have lived way past their expiration, is finally gone. So pretty eventful conclusion here. I have a lot of questions about this final chapter. Why before Altair chooses to join the men on the ship in that final moment when her father's dying, she talks about how she's ready to join the group of men, because I guess he offended her somehow. I wasn't exactly sure what happened there, but way before this very sad moment happened where the father died, she said that she was, pretty much ready to abandon her father to join this group of men she hardly knows. And I was kind of wondering why she would choose to do that, despite the circumstances. Did you guys have any input on that? Did you give that any thought while watching the movie?
The planet's gonna blow up. You gotta
no,
go.
before that, wasn't there a moment where, like, before all of this happened, before the father died,
Maybe.
where she was like, okay, I'm joining you guys. I'm leaving my pops.
I could see that, because it is one of those grass is greener on the other side things. She's introduced to this new group of people, and it's new and exciting. So I feel like I could see her definitely wanting to make the jump to that.
I think it was
desired for the first time.
I think it was because, like, how her father reacted to the doctor dying, like calling him a fool and everything like that, like that he deserved he got what he deserved and stuff like that. Like, she sees him now in this completely different way, like a man who, thinks that his intellect is what saved him, so that makes him superior in some ways to these guys, and like he tried to warn them and stuff, but they didn't listen. So they got what they deserved, and so she sees him now as cold and unfeeling and everything like that, and she's like, well, I don't want to be with you anymore. And plus also, like you're kind of saying there, Jill, like she's introduced to a whole new way of life. Now she feels like she's kind of stuck here, and her dad's keeping her against her will, and she wants to break out and try to experience a real life that she feels now she's been missing out on.
Yeah, I think you guys pretty much covered it there. You made a good point. Yeah, it was during that time. Yeah, when the doctor died, he was like totally cool with the whole thing. It's like, I told these fools, this is what happens, and now you're dead. So. You should have listened to me. Yeah, good point. I guess that was sort of a bit of a moment where he kind of revealed that he had a more selfish nature too, right? And he had that like superiority complex that she hadn't really seen before. I guess she wouldn't see a lot of this because, she's never seen him interact with other parties other than her, right? He interacted with a robot that constantly agreed with him and probably affirmed a lot of his ideas and beliefs. And, she had that sort of relationship as a mentorship figure in her life. And, if she saw that, there wouldn't be any reason to question it herself. So pretty interesting situation.
You guys said this earlier. Weren't they in that ship for like over a year together? So they're presumably headed back to Earth, and that one woman is trapped in the ship.
20 guys. Oh, bruh. Yeah, come on. You better watch yourself, Leslie Nielsen.
That could have been the sequel right there.
I was going to say, give me that movie.
We'll call it 12 Angry Men.
HBO Max. 12 Angry Men.
That's a not rated film.
He's definitely going to have to deactivate that no kill switch in Robby. So that way, if any of the guys try to make a move, they're like, hey, I got a killer robot here.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Well, that's something also strange about this final situation. Before they fly off, I don't think they bring Robby, do they?
They do.
They do? They do? I didn't see him. Oh, he's in the ship.
He's helping steer the ship. He's at the controls.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. I thought, I don't know
No,
how I missed that. I was like, man, don't leave him behind. He was cool.
Yeah, Robby's a good guy. They're not going to leave him to die.
Are you Robby of the panel, Ian?
I don't know. Am I?
I'd say you are. I'd say you are. You got some good insights. Yeah.
Well,
we give you a question, you answer it eloquently. Respect.
I try to
be Robby. I'll be
right now.
I'll be the girlfriend. Anybody else could be Leslie Nielsen. Luke.
Definitely.
Gen X man, who are you? You are you're the doctor. You're Dr. Morbius.
Ian, can I have 60 gallons of bourbon, please?
World War Joe. Who would World War Joe be?
Can I be the monster?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That fits. That fits really, really well. Just kidding.
And with AI, we can make this movie.
Yeah, literally. So, like, we're talking about the id monster here. It looked like the only thing that was able to, defeat it was like this sort of psychological battle that Morbius had within himself, denouncing his subconscious. Is there any other way that you can beat these id monsters?
Well, they made it look like they were going to kill him. The captain there, the big captain had his blaster out, pointed at the guy.
Yeah, it was weird he chose not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kill its ego.
I was kind of wondering if it would survive if they killed Morbius, if that would have like ended this subconscious. It probably would, because they were talking about how, a lot of these ids that killed the Krell early on, that they still linger, right? Because their subconsciouses are connected in that system. That's what I thought I heard, at least, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious to know if this is the only id that's left in the world, or if there are more like remnants of the Krell, of the Krell from all that time ago.
They're all gone now. So they blew up the planet.
Yeah, there's nothing left.
Yeah, you're right. But you know what? We're not in the 23rd century, Ian. So it still exists somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Fantasy.
Yeah, I've been studying this picture here, and I decided the id monster looks like the Tasmanian devil.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
This picture is a lot better than how it actually looked in the movie too. I think this is a good freeze frame. Something I didn't like was the blasters. They looked really pathetic.
Yes.
When they were firing, it looked like, your pisser taking a leak. It just didn't, like little pittance. It was not, there was no force. I don't know. They tried. It was what they had.
They didn't have like the kind of props that they have now. When you pull the trigger, it lights up and everything like that, and you can actually like kind of feel it jolt a little bit in your hand. I think they have those kind of guns, or like when they have, the blanks going off. So many of those guys probably came from westerns where they had blanks and stuff, and they're like, here's a space gun. You can all you gotta do is just hold it, and then we'll draw it in the blaster fire later.
Nice. A space gun. Yeah, that's literally what they told him. So what did you guys admire about the movie?
Set design. That's where I think most of the budget. That's what I'm trying to think. Where did the budget go for this movie? I would say to the set design and all the practical stuff.
Most of the budget actually did go to the set design, because they actually built the set pieces as much as they could before the studio tried to pull the plug on the film. So it's like by that time, since they'd spent all that money on it, they were like, well, we got these big sets, we might as well shoot a movie with them. So at least
I heard they reused one of the sets from Wizard of Oz.
Yes,
the Munchkin land. How does that happen?
Well, I think it's probably that one part where the tiger comes into frame, and the deer when she calls them. That I could definitely see that little area, that small forest area, probably being the Munchkin City right there.
That's weird.
They just painted over the yellow brick road and everything.
Something I admired about it? This was something that, this is a deep movie. Like, this is not some shallow surface level sci-fi action film, right? Like, it's deep. And, Dr. Morbius, his character and his, the world building and the history involved with this planet is so extensive and well thought out that, you can't help but respect it for that. It was definitely, there's nothing shallow about it, even though it's confusing and it just doesn't really, it seems so implausible because of how grand it is. It's still genius storytelling and, world building here. Something I really enjoyed was, the deeper parts of it, like the whole way that the subconscious mind is connected here. I respected how the film honestly portrayed the subconsciousness, right? Like, I think a lot of us wouldn't be happy with a portrayal of an honest representation of our subconscious, right? Because I think there's a lot of times when somebody does something to you in your life and, your primal instinct is to hate them for it or to be angry or want to do something, right? I think that's a normal thing. And, this movie explores that, and it's not a happy thought. It happens where his subconscious, the monster from the id, acting on his subconscious, lunges at his daughter because deep down she offended him by showing her love and her interest in Leslie Nielsen's character over him. In a way, she's sort of abandoning her father for this stranger that is threatening his sort of paradise situation here, and in turn the subconscious acts against her and tries to kill her. I think it's so interesting to show that, because that's kind of a harsh reality. But I think a lot of us, if our subconsciousness were revealed, we might be surprised by how it's portrayed on big screen.
And what I definitely took away from it is the part where Leslie Nielsen says to Morbius, he says, we all have darkness in our subconscious. That's why we have laws and religion. And I'm like, yeah, that's why, it's a message about whenever we try to play God, we still end up feeding our darker parts of our our soul, and you know, that's why we need God. You know, we need God in our lives. You know, it's, you know, we try to make those decisions on our own. Everyone tries to be their own gods, but we always end up making things worse for ourselves. But when we truly do submit to God, you know, we become much stronger. You know, the darker parts of our subconscious don't grow as strong. That's what I took away from it.
Good thoughts there.
Yeah,
you know, back to what you were saying earlier, Ian, about the comparison with nuclear weapons and sort of a world destroying technology that we made for ourselves. And I mean, if you think about it, there is that worry, continuing worry, ongoing worry that somebody is going to come unhinged and push the button, right? And the more countries that have these weapons, and the crazier those countries are, and the people in charge, at some point the id's going to take over. You know, I mean, it almost seems like it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, it's a matter of time.
It's a matter of time.
And it's also a matter of like people, you know, how they're raised, what kind of environments they're raised in, what they're taught, how they're taught to respect life and people's rights and stuff like that. I mean, obviously people make mistakes and stuff, but it's about like, you know, what kind of, you know, what you're raised to believe in, you know, and what kind of examples you have around you, and how they affect your choices later on in life. Yeah, and you see this character of Morbius. You know, he's a very smart man, but his environment, his isolation, you know, from humanity, you know, clearly had an effect on how he spent so much time with this technology. And it just goes to show you again, it's like, you know, isolation is part of what we see going on right now with, you know, with our society, with the problems we see in our society. You know, so many people get their information from, from the technology in our hands with social media and everything like that. We become so reliant on it that, you know, it's become a box. And like I said before, I get what you guys are saying about AI, you know, and stuff like that, but I still have this fear that it's just one more thing people are going to become so overly reliant on that they continue to isolate themselves even more. And I think that that's something that people just need to be made more aware of. Obviously, people are trying to be more aware of it, but you just got to speak out louder about
it. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
I know I'm going off.
No, it's good. It's good. Hey, whatever. It's all relevant here, right? I mean, they're tackling a lot of, you know, existential crises, right? I mean, it's, you know, it's a deep movie, and it's surprisingly deep. And, you know, if it weren't for Morbius's character, it wouldn't have that kind of, complexity to it. But
hey,
yeah, he adds that.
I told you, Brawler, I was going to bring this up, so maybe this is a good time. One of the things that fascinates me is to reflect on, this movie was made in 1956. 21 years later, we got episode 4 of Star Wars. And you think about what just a breakthrough that movie was on a variety of levels. And I like Forbidden Planet because I think it was sort of like, it was the peak of how people thought about advanced technology at that time. And then Star Wars came along and kind of blew all that apart. So what would you guys say is, what were some of the innovations in Star Wars that were clear breakaways from what we saw in Forbidden Planet?
I never seen Star Wars. I'm a say there. I know I'm lame.
Oh, it's okay, man. But obviously, the light speed, you know, the light speed effects are terrific. You know, clearly, you know, because like a lot of those shots of them going through light speed is just like light reflected off tin foil. You know, you know, and then like he had the sound designs of the lightsabers,
sound design, yeah.
You know, the blasters and everything like, because you hear the blaster fire in this film, it's just like it's like, obviously I've grown up on Star Wars, so the sound effects in that have spoiled me. But it's like the the costumes, the sets and everything like that, obviously going to actual locations, not just building sets on the back lot, because the studio didn't really believe in Star Wars when it first came out. We all know that. But yeah, I mean, it was much bigger in scope, but without this film, honestly, you wouldn't have Star Wars.
I think I think of Star Wars and like the difference between Star Wars and this, and Star Wars does a much better job, creating, convincing alien planets that are, one of a kind and of their own. This one, something disappointing about this was, this is a far away planet. It's desolate. You have this invisible monster, but other than the invisible monster, there's really nothing that special about the planet. It doesn't look that much different than anywhere else you'd find in the desert with some mountains in the background or some rock formations. In Star Wars, Tatooine is, I'd say it's a more, I don't know, a more rounded out version of that. You know what I mean? It's a desert planet that's different, and it has its classical inhabited life. There's certain animals and such, or aliens involved with Tatooine, unlike any other place. You have the Tusken Raiders, you have the sand troopers patrolling, you have the sand huts, the Jawas. These are all Tatooine specific characters that you don't really see anywhere else. And there you go, you spend the same amount of time in the next few movies at the other planets where you don't see that same sort of wildlife anywhere else either. So that definitely stands out in Star Wars. The blasters and like the action is way better too, and just the blaster fire, they really figured that out. And like you said, Ian, the sound design is really like one of a kind with Star Wars, right? I mean, there's no other movie that is on point like Star Wars is with sound design, right? I mean, it's like there's not a single ship, weapon, scream in the background, or theme that can beat Star Wars's sound design, right? I mean, it's so iconic and it just works, and it's all independent, which goes to creating that fantastical world that we all know and love. And you only hear certain sounds from certain devices. It's not crossed over. So that's also something else too. And also, like the ship, the space, right? I mean, the time we spend in space here in Forbidden Planet, we're not like, it's not compared, it's not pinned up against other ships. We don't really see much of the air travel. They make it look like in Star Wars, the ships really look like they're flying in space, even though we're literally just looking at models. And there's also scale, there's very clearly identified scale that shows you just how big the universe of Star Wars is. It's hard to tell how big the universe of Forbidden Planet is because we don't really get to see, the UFO ship measured by something else. That could have been interesting in Forbidden Planet if we saw an ancient Krell ship to compare with, their little UFO. But, at the same time, we saw how vast and complicated the underground system was. So those are just some things I'd noticed.
Yeah, those are all excellent points. One other thing is I think Star Wars is a bit of a reaction to the way advanced technology was portrayed in that previous era, as shown in Forbidden Planet, where everything is pristine and utopian, and we all gaze in amazement at this robot that can make anything and everything. And in Star Wars, it's like, get out of my way, C-3PO, and there's dirt and people pick up some and use it and they toss it aside, or they go and pick through the garbage to try to find, a power cell or whatever. So it's like a reaction, like the grunge version of sci-fi versus like the happy-go-lucky music of the 80s, the grunge theme came on as a reaction. I think Star Wars might have been a reaction to that previous way of viewing the future.
That's a good point. Yeah, right. I mean, there isn't really a moment where, the advanced technology in Forbidden Planet is underscored, right? Like everyone is just constantly in amazement and awe of what this is, right? Of the how advanced everything is, especially the robot. Nobody's like, get out of my way, you're useless, or I've been around you 1,000 times. Even as far in the future as this movie is, that's not ever a problem. So those are good points. Interesting. Well, I guess if you guys are, I'm kind of curious. We've had some, we've had a lot of good things to say about the movie. We've had just a few bad things. What do you think you would do to change the movie if you could? What would you add, take away?
I would have Robby be the main villain here. I just don't understand why they didn't go in that direction. I mean, I like what they went. It was a lot deeper than I ever expected this movie to be, but it looked like they were setting up for this robot that could do everything. I thought he was just pulling the strings back there. He was responsible for all the people dead there. He was just using Morbius there just to, I don't know, keep things active there or something like that. But I thought he was going to be the main villain. Yeah.
Yeah, I like him as a mastermind. That could have worked.
He was leaning towards it. It just seems very odd that they decided to not go with it when you could have gone in that direction.
Yeah, he could have had some sort of cloaking device, right? I mean, for as advanced as everything is, why couldn't he cloak himself, be invisible?
Yeah.
What if it was Altair that was the villain?
Oh, and she's an android.
Yeah, or a clone. I actually thought she was a clone.
I thought she was going to be a clone of the mother.
Yeah.
Oh crap!
That's where I thought they were going with that.
Man,
it's like she's been. You find out that she's frustrated from being pent up on this planet all this time, and now it's like, she meets some of these guys, and some of them kind of are not living up to her idea of what she wants from a relationship. So she takes it the wrong way, and starts setting off Robby the Robot on them. Like Robby's her personal hitman or something like that.
Oh,
yeah, or maybe she's like Darth Jar Jar, like she's acting all sweet and innocent and naive, but really she's the real brains behind it all.
I like the sound of that. Nice. Yeah, of course, Jar Jar is the brains.
Sir, have such a problem with me, sir?
That was very good.
You sound just like Jar Jar.
Are
you Jar Jar, Ian? So stupid. No, that's good. I think I kind of I wouldn't have mind seeing, like, if this was made today, I would like to see the Krell civilization.
Yeah,
I want to see that. I want to like have a visual display of all of this crazy tech that they've created. I want to see all of it. I want to know what it is. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around what they are capable of doing. Like being able to create a physical threat from your subconscious is like, it's hard to even imagine how that's possible, right? Like, can we see how that happened, how they got to that point, what it is, like, what are the mechanics of this facility that's able to make that happen in this world? I don't know. I think there's a lot that they could explain through that. I don't want to see a remake, so please don't. They probably will. Seems like I heard that in the early 2000s they were trying to make a remake, but it didn't end up happening. That it might have worked in the early 2000s. I don't trust now, but I'd also be interested if we just kicked up the action a little more and have some more. Yeah, right. I mean,
there was a lot of dead space and pacing was pretty slow.
Yeah, that could have helped.
Maybe like you have some Krell that are still living there, but they've kind of regressed. Like maybe the technology, maybe some of them chose to walk away from the technology and they maybe they kind of seem more like the Tusken Raiders at first, but then you find out no, they've actually have a thriving society, and but they're trying to basically ward off invaders or something like that.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, let's see what a couple Max in the chat is popping off before we get to yours, Max. I like this, Max. I like the communication. We got a new friend here, Jules Gaming and Stuff. What's up, Jules? Thanks for joining us. Hollywood just getting us used to AI slop movies. Yeah, I don't know. Hollywood's not producing them yet.
Say, Hollywood ain't batting 1,000.
Hollywood doesn't want this to happen, right? Yeah. I think it's funny how Disney, they said that they were going to have some sort of function on Disney Plus where you could watch like little shorts, AI shorts with their characters made by fans, but I haven't seen anything further with that. So kind of curious if they're going to keep doing that. I'm curious. I'd like to see that kind of just to see what it looks like.
We're going to get with the capabilities of it, we are probably going to get the best Star Wars and Marvel movies out there. That's what they're doing. And they're saying like, hey, we're going to let you guys do all this stuff though. And we're going to put it on Disney Plus. It's having a lot of problems right now. So we're just going to be making content for them for free.
Well, I've heard how like they're actually suing some of these AI companies, for using their characters' likeness and stuff like that. So they're actually going through a lot of lawsuits right now, from what I've heard about it.
Well, I think it's funny how it's like, we still have it. You could sue them all day, but everyone made those clips. They're not going away, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will admit, I've seen some AI videos on YouTube of Star Wars, and I'm like, yeah, these are so much more, as far as like the scenes and the stories go, they're so much better than what we've gotten from Disney.
Yeah.
I just would like them better if they actually had real people acting them out and stuff like that. Just the voices, the imagery, it just takes me out of it every time I think I watch it.
Yeah. Now let's see. Here we go. This is Max says your subconscious operates the machine, but it is the machine that actually does the evil. Is that true? I don't think that's true. Is it?
To an extent, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because the subconscious, the id monster is basically a product made by the machine, but the machine is actually, on second thought, the machine is kind of used more as a tool to create the subconscious, and then the subconscious is just let loose.
Do guns kill people, or do people kill people with guns?
Nice.
That's a little bit more simple than this, I think.
Oh, this would have been interesting. Max says, have Captain Adams actually be an operative who is on a mission to grab the Krell tech and end up the bad guy.
Hey, there we go.
And then he kills the entire crew and the girl.
Slaughters everybody.
That
would be insane. Oh my gosh, that's a good one, Max. Very good. I like that. Yeah, now we're getting weird. Have Captain Abrams kill Robby, only discover he was not the baddie. Oh, that'd be so sad. He kills Robby and Robby's not bad.
Yeah, the daughter was pulling the strings the whole time and used Robby as that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He said Captain Abrams, man. This is not that Star Trek.
Oh, let's see. That's good. Man, you know what? When we watch and we talk about all of these sci-fi films, I always think to 2001. That's my favorite. I think it's my favorite sci-fi film I've seen in these 47 episodes. I love 2001 Space Odyssey. It's one of my favorites. And also, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Those are
a great one.
Highlights. Forbidden Planet. It's nowhere near those for me, but yeah, Max's model says Star Wars was a space swashbuckler. FP, Forbidden Planet, 2001, Interstellar were cerebral. Man, I'm so sick of hearing about Interstellar. Everyone, what's your favorite movie? Interstellar. Why? Oh, it's so smart. And then they can't tell you anymore.
That's my favorite movie.
Are you serious?
It's so smart, dude.
I thought it was White Chicks.
That's my second favorite movie.
That's definitely yours, Luke. White Chicks.
I would have, mine is definitely Galaxy Quest.
Wow, that's your favorite movie. or sci-fi?
Favorite sci-fi. I love Star Wars. I like Star Trek and all that stuff, but I definitely think that if I had to choose, probably choose Galaxy Quest.
Wow, man. It's because of Sigourney Weaver and what she wears, isn't it?
I don't think those things are prosthetics.
Yeah, I didn't think they were either when I first saw the movie.
Everything is a lie.
Oh, that's funny. Nice. Well, great. Does anybody have any more final thoughts about Forbidden Planet before we call it a night?
You pointed out, Jackson, that in the poster, the colors of their outfits was not the same as in the movie.
Yeah, it's so vibrant here. Really, the movie's not all that colorful. I feel like it was like they were trying to tell us something because the you have Leslie Nielsen here and the entire crew, they all have gray outfits. Everyone's in gray. And look, he's wearing the red here. I thought we would see him change at some point. No. The girl doesn't really wear anything that vibrant either. All her stuff is pretty much just white or like, a beige or a cream color. And that green guy in the background, there definitely wasn't anybody wearing green.
And you never see Robby Robot hold anybody.
No, we see him hold the dead doctor.
We do?
The one that got brain boosted or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
You can only imagine how hard that was for the actor inside the suit to carry that man.
Oh, well, so I think it was like, so I had a weird moment where I saw the robot, he like turned around and you saw the corpse and it was obviously like a plaster body. Like the face looked kind of funny. It wasn't a dude.
Oh,
yeah. A prop dummy. That's what Max is saying.
Yeah,
but that was a little disappointing. I thought we would get like really nice, beautiful, colorful outfits, which sounds so stupid, but it's like, I don't know, like when you think of retro sci-fi, you think of Forbidden Planet, and classic retro is these vibrant, punching colors, and it wasn't really all that punchy color wise.
Well, since they were color coding, since it was the 50s, they probably wanted to have fun with it and make it look all colorful and crazy. But when they're moving around and actually filming the movie, it'd be harder to, probably.
Well, I don't think I don't think they colored over the scenes, did they? Or was it?
They did.
No, okay.
It's not color coding.
It was shot in Technicolor.
It was
something weird.
Yeah.
Gen X Man told me he was watching there was a clip or a trailer of a sequel to this movie, The Invisible Boy.
Oh yeah.
And the trailer was in black and white.
I think it was more of a TV show,
Okay.
Because it does have Robby the Robot. It's sort of an unofficial sequel.
It almost looked like it was just another reason to put Robby the Robot on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was made for him. Because it otherwise looks terrible based on the trailer.
That's funny. Well, I think that pretty much does it here, guys. I'd say I recommend the movie. You guys recommending Forbidden Planet to our lovely viewers?
Yes. I think you have to recommend it because everything that followed was a product of this. Having the captain, first mate, and the was a medical guy, totally from this, and like I said, the robot too. It really spawned a lot of things, and I don't know if we would have it exactly the same without it.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Brawler recommends, panel recommends. I think I'd give it a solid 78, 79 out of 100 for me. Definitely enjoyable, worth the watch. It's a part of history. This is definitely one of those films you got to see. I remember Luke watching Lawrence of Arabia with me in theaters. Over 3 hours long. That's another
first
film
movie that I've
history.
Yeah, first movie in theaters that had an intermission.
You were bored. I wouldn't mind seeing this in theaters.
Yeah,
but cool, just so everyone knows, Cinemark. I go to Cinemark, and I love seeing old films in theaters. I would jump on board now if you don't know about this. They are just lightly advertising what's going on. They are going to be playing a lot of old films this year. I remember earlier last year they advertised the Lord, or not earlier, it was like December of last year. They advertised the Lord of the Rings movies coming in January or whatever it was, and it was before they did like a mass ad campaign for it. And thankfully, I was able to get my tickets early. So check out your Cinemark apps, your AMCs, whatever it is, because you can jump on board now. They're playing, somebody in the chat mentioned Gone with the Wind. They're going to be playing that. They're going to be playing A Beautiful Mind. They're playing Fried Green Tomatoes. I don't even know what that is.
You say Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, I'm going to see that one. I got tickets to Gone with the Wind.
Ooh,
Ben-Hur. I got tickets to Ben-Hur. They're playing
Ooh.
Ben-Hur. Which I guess I think it's over 4 hours long. Am I tripping balls, or is that true? It's long.
Pretty close. It's pretty close.
Yeah. Gosh. Let's see, what else are they playing? Silence of the Lambs. They're playing Silence of the Lambs in theaters. I'm going to be seeing that. That's going to be a good one. I feel like I'm missing more, but Gone with the Wind, I'm very excited to see. I haven't seen that one at all, so I thought that
haven't seen Gone with the Wind.
Maybe you'll have to see it, Luke. Jump on board. You could join us.
Yeah, that'd be my second time.
That'd be good. Yeah. But yeah, just stay tuned for that. And everybody watching, if you liked what we had to say today, please be sure to check out all the people that joined us here today. Ian, he's an active YouTuber here, so I got his link in the description below, as well as World War Joe. Always a pleasure having you two on. And Gen X Man joining us again. Great to see you, my friend. Thanks for hopping on and giving us your Gen X wisdom.
Yeah.
Luke, as always, good having you on.
Yeah.
And if you guys liked what I had to say, I'd love it if you subscribed here to Box Office Brawler. Every week, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern time, we go on here and we watch a lot of the classics that Luke and I are just covering for the first time, a lot of the time. And we're joined by, incredible panels of people that are esteemed fans of the titles. So we'd love it if you jumped on board, subscribe to Box Office Brawler here, like the stream. We greatly appreciate it. Before I go, I see Emperor Goodwin. He says, I'll allow you to live another day, Brawler. Yeah, every time you're in the chat, it's war, Goodwin. I'm watching out for you.
What's next week?
So next week, unfortunately, I can't do a stream next week. I'm gonna be out of town. I know I wanted to stream, but no opportunities next week. So next week we're taking a hiatus. Everybody, enjoy yourselves. Take a breath, relax, and we'll be back the week after. I think the week after we're going to be talking about Donnie Darko. I think
I'll carry the torch next week, guys. We are watching 50 Shades of Grey.
I would totally jump on for that
on Luke's stream. Ew. Yeah. World War Joe, Luke, Megan. Yeah. Who else? Who's your dream team, Luke?
Make it happen. I'll totally jump on.
Oh yeah, you got it.
And Gen X Man, throw Gen X Man in there too. Yeah. And Ian, he'll give you his esteemed wisdom.
Yeah.
About what? About 50 Shades of Grey?
Yeah.
I've never watched that movie. Dude.
Good. Don't
perfect time to watch it.
No, dude, I'm okay.
Yeah, first time watch, man.
I'm okay. Not my kind of movie.
No, neither me. It's none of ours. It's none of ours. But yeah, we're heading out, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in 2 weeks. We'll see you guys later. Never forget, give him the Duke and give him the dog. Thanks for watching. Peace.
See you guys.
What kind of person are you? Are you the kind that sees signs, sees miracles? Or do you believe that people just get lucky?